Chapter 503 Hurt. Ji Yun'er Baisher's sleek black eyes sparkled with curiosity and intelligence. Their master was not a simple character. Her means were getting stranger and more numerous. Whether it was Bailey Yu Yin or Li Yu Yu, they had all suffered at the hands of their master. They believed that this time, Ji Yun'er would surely suffer. Their master had always been very decisive. As long as it was something that she needs, she would definitely get it. There was no worry for that at all. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferently at the ward on the periphery of the ancient monument. The light of the ward was becoming fainter as time passed. She believed that in some time, the ward would disappear completely. Wifey, what did you do to Ji Yun'er? Di Bei Chen's long brows slanted as he looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with a smile. He was very clear about his wife's personality. Since she was so calm, he was afraid that next there would definitely be a show worth watching. As for being the one to draw the shorter end of the stick, she had never been content with it. Bailey Hong Zhuang's smile held a deep meaning. Deliberately being mysterious, she said, "You wait and see." Ji Yun'er deliberately put the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator into her own yin-yang pouch, mocking, thinking she is someone great, but being able to do nothing more than talk big. Yin Lingxian and the others stared between Ji Yun'er and Bailey Hong Zhuang. They always felt that things were not so simple, but where the problem was, they could not think of it. I keep feeling like that Bailey Hong Zhuang had done something. Yin Lingxian frowned. However, the scene before had happened in front of all of them, and nothing looked out of place at all. What could she have done? Ji Yun'er sneered. There are so many people present. Didn't she just spout some meaningless words? It was just a bluff. Just now, under Bailey Hong Zhuang's pressing momentum, she was pressured until she became dumb, but now she was acting proud again. They did not understand how her brain worked. However, just as Ji Yun'er finished with her words of mockery, her face became strange. Not because of others, but because she suddenly felt a sting on her body. How could this be? Ji Yun'er was puzzled. This sting seemed to come from within her body and was piercingly painful. Ji Yun'er could not help but call out. The pain became more and more intense as time went by, and it gradually exceeded her level of tolerance. It hurts. Everyone saw that Ji Yun'er's face was twisted up in pain, and their expressions became strange. Miss, what's wrong with you? After seeing this scene, the practitioners of the Ji family couldn't help but ask. It hurts. It hurts. Ji Yun'er shouted, and her tone was more and more anxious. How can it start to hurt without a rhyme or reason? The practitioners of the Ji family were stunned, and their eyes could not help but look towards Bailey Hong Zhuang. Previously, that Bailey Hong Zhuang had told their miss not to come asking for her. Bailey Hong Zhuang's was still looking indifferently at the ancient monument, and her eyes never stopped on Ji Yun'er for even a second, as if everything that was happening had nothing to do with her. Damn, how can it hurt so much? I can't stand it. Ji Yun'er's face was pinched in pain, and she felt pain in her every pore, such that she didn't even have a chance to breathe. The Ji family members were looking at Ji Yun'er, and then Ji Yun'er fell onto the ground. Chapter 504 Deserves It. Feeling the constant waves of pain, Ji Yun'er felt them to be intolerable, and as the pain became more and more intense, even her internal organs seemed to be hurting. Even though she had experienced a lot of pain in the process of cultivation, it was all nothing compared to the pain she felt at the moment. Ji Yun'er could not bear it as she rolled on the ground. Her luxurious silk dress had become contaminated and muddy, her hair messy and unkempt. If it had been any other time, Ji Yun'er could naturally not stand such an image of themselves. But at this moment she had forgotten everything, only hoping that this pain would reduce by even a few times. Lin Yiro and the others first felt strange about Ji Yun'er's reaction, but soon after seeing the pale and sweaty appearance of Ji Yun'er, they understood that this must be related to Bailey Hong Zhuang. Today Ji Yun'er really looks like a monkey being played. Lin Yiro's eyes were full of disdain. From the beginning to the end, Ji Yun'er had been troubling Bailey Hong Zhuang deliberately. The final result was that she had been utterly humiliated by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Speaking of that, the current Ji Yun'er looked really pitiful. Yin Lingxian felt the same as he nodded. This time, Ji Yuner really has been played. This Bailey Hong Zhuang, although she is not strong enough, the methods she has are very strange. People can't ignore her. Huang Fu, we could no longer think of Bailey Hong Zhuang as an ordinary person without a background because her direct method left even him feeling a bit chilly. Sure enough, any woman that Di Bei Chun liked was definitely not an ordinary person. If they underestimated Bailey Hong Zhuang, they were only asking for trouble. For example, look at Ji Yuner's current state. Han Shiling's slender brows were twisted. From their point of view, Ji Yuner's current state had definitely been caused by Bailey Hong Zhuang. However, just now, she never found any movement on Bailey Hong Zhuang's part. So how had she been able to make Ji Yuner suffer? At the thought of this, Han Shiling became a little more vigilant. This was the first time she had felt threatened by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang, what did you do to me? Ji Yuner endured the pain as she questioned Bailey Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows lifted slightly. Looking indifferent as she quietly said, Miss Ji, you cannot blame me like this. There were so many watchful eyes, but I did not do anything. I did not believe it. You must have done something. Ji Yuner's eyes were hazy, her pretty face twisted in anger and pain. You let me get better soon, or I will not let you go. Despite her words, Bailey Hong Zhuang was as placid as the clouds, as if everything Ji Yuner said had nothing to do with her. Miss Ji's words are really interesting, as if you weren't hurting now, you would let me go. Hearing these words, everyone was stunned. Many people laughed, unable to contain it. What Bailey Hong Zhuang had said was true. Even if she relieved Ji Yuner's pain, Ji Yuner would still not let her go. In that case, why should she help Ji Yuner? Die, you horrid woman, Xiaohei said coldly. This kind of person needed to be taught a lesson. If they weren't disciplined, their nose would always be towards the sky. It really isn't worth it even to kill her. Xiao Bai's face was full of disdain. Previously, that Ji Yuner's arrogance had been out of limit, but it amounted to nothing now. Bai Shi, that demonic core should fall into your hands after a while, Xiaohei said as he looked at Bai Shi. Chapter 505 means, Bailey Hong Zhuang hearing those words, a touch of excitement appeared in Bai Shi's eyes. As long as he got the demonic core of the Qing Tianmo alligator, he would surely have a breakthrough. Thinking of this, Bai Shi couldn't help his happiness. Once he had a breakthrough, he could help his master fight. Looking at Ji Yuner's expression, she must be in extreme pain. Xia Jiqing looked at Ji Yuner, who was rolling on the ground. Even with her strength, she could hardly even speak under the effects of such agony. Bai Junyu nodded. It must be very painful, otherwise she wouldn't have become like this. The next moment, a flower like a smile graced Xia Jiqing's mouth. Watching her hurt so much, I feel particularly happy. Bai Junyu thought that Xia Jiqing's reactions were completely beyond his expectations, but in fact, he too felt that Ji Yuner deserved such pain. Hong Zhuang is really awesome. She even taught such an annoying person a good lesson. Xia Jiqing's eyes were bright as she smiled. She did not have the ability like Hong Zhuang's, but looking at things now, she felt very happy. This Ji Yuner's background is not weak, and Bailey Hong Zhuang has offended her like this. I am afraid that in the future, she will be strongly retaliated against by the Ji family in the future. Unlike Xia Jiqing, Lu Huayan was full of fear. This Ji family had only come to the ancient monument for an experience. They did not bring a lot of people, so others may not feel much, but he knew how terrible the ability of the Ji family was. As long as the Ji family wanted to retaliate against Bailey Hong Zhuang would surely fall into endless trouble. You can't blame Bailey Hong Zhuang for this. Just with the presence of Di Bei Chun, that Ji Yuner can't do anything to Bailey Hong Zhuang. It looks like this grudge is impossible to let go of. His low voice a bit helpless as Fu Hong Bo shook his head. Now the situation had been set in stone. No matter what Bailey Hong Zhuang did, this hatred would continue. Now that the result had been destined, Bailey Hong Zhuang naturally had no need for being more reserved. It was better to teach Ji Yuner a lot of lessons, to make up for all that she had lost. I did not expect that Bailey Hong Zhuang would have such an amazing method despite being such a famed doctor. This is incomparable to normal people. Her pretty face was filled with emotion as even Zhang Yunfeng looked impressed with Bailey Hong Zhuang at the moment. Although the status of a doctor could not surpass that of a refining pharmacist in the Shengxian continent, offending a doctor wasn't a wise choice either. Bailey Hong Zhuang, did you poison me? Ji Yuner's eyes widened, her face pale, the veins on her temple bulging as she asked unwillingly. At the same time, the cultivators of the Ji family all glared at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Miss Bailey, if you don't hand over the antidote now, then don't blame us for being impolite. One cultivator sighed. Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression was still light. This is really interesting. I didn't expect such a big family to pour dirty water on other people's bodies. There are so many people present here. Did you see me poison her? It's wrong for you to do things as you like. It's too unfair. Give her to me. Ji Yuner sighed in anger. The hatred in her heart for Bailey Hong Zhuang had reached an extreme. As long as Bailey Hong Zhuang fell into their hands, she would make sure she never had a better day again. With Ji Yuner's words, the cultivators of the Ji family all raised their weapons and aligned them towards Bailey Hong Zhuang. Chapter 506. You will be unable to live. Who dares? When the Ji family cultivators were preparing to attack Bailey Hong Zhuang, Di Bei Chen's voice rang. His overbearing tone was full of anger and murderousness, his handsome and unparalleled face covered with frost, and his deep eyes were as sharp as an arrow, directly shooting the cultivator of the Ji family. Seeing Di Bei Chen's appearance, the faces of the Ji family cultivators changed instantly. They were well aware of the status of Di Bei Chen, who would most likely become the next sovereign of Tiangang Zone in the future. If just because of Bailey Hong Zhuang, they were to anger such a promising successor like Di Bei Chen, it was undoubtedly very unprofitable to them. Moreover, they themselves knew for a fact that from beginning to end, it had been their young miss who was provoking others. If Ji Yuner had not been looking for trouble with Bailey Hong Zhuang would not have treated her like this. But now Bailey Hong Zhuang had put Ji Yuner in a situation where even they could not help. Seeing Di Bei Chen's protective attitude toward Bailey Hong Zhuang, Ji Yuner's face became ugly. Di Bei Chen, I have known you for so many years, but now that Bailey Hong Zhuang has hurt me, you will protect her? Ji Yuner's face was full of rage and paranoia. She did not believe that Di Bei Chen would rather offend the Ji family to protect Bailey Hong Zhuang. Unknowingly, Han Xiling had walked over to Di Bei Chen's side. Her beautiful, lotus-like face was a little worried. Di Dage, you should be clear about the identity of Ji Yuner. Isn't this a bit too impulsive? Seeing Han Xiling say that to Di Bei Chen, the expressions of Xia Zhiqing and the others all changed. Di Bei Chen wouldn't give up on Bailey Hong Zhuang, right? Although they were not the children or disciples of a big family, they were still very clear on how they had only their own interests in mind. If Di Bei Chen dares to give up on Bailey Hong Zhuang, I will not let him go. Dong Fengyu quietly clenched his fists. In front of so many cultivators with high status, he had still been acting mild, but as long as he was there, he would never let them hurt Bailey Hong Zhuang. Lu Qinyu looked at Dong Fengyu, an unspeakable feeling rising in her heart. Her line of sight could not help but fall on Bailey Hong Zhuang in front of them. All the conflicts that were occurring now were caused by Bailey Hong Zhuang, but Bailey Hong Zhuang herself acted like nothing happened, indifferent. I have a sense of proportion, Di Bei Chen said with a faint voice, and then raising his voice, Hong Zhuang is my wife. If you want to deal with her, you must cross through me. Di Bei Chen stood in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang. He had already shown his attitude with his actions. Han Xiling's face changed slightly. She had not expected that despite her advice, Di Bei Chen's heart would be unmoved. It had only been a short period of 3 years. Didn't she have any weight in Di Bei Chen's heart? Ji Yuner's anger was unstoppable, her fierce and vicious eyes directed at Bailey Hong Zhuang. If eyes could kill, I'm afraid Bailey Hong Zhuang would have died many times over already. If you dare to do anything to me, you won't live. Bailey Hong Zhuang whispered faintly. Her voice was still indifferent, as if everything had nothing to do with her. However, when she heard it, Ji Yun'er's expression only turned fiercer. Bailey Hong Zhuang, you still won't admit that you poisoned me. There is nothing I have to say. Why do you keep saying I poisoned you? Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged, her expression innocent, but it just looked abhorrent in the eyes of Ji Yun'er. Chapter 5:07 You are a doctor. If you didn't poison me, why did you say that I should not ask you for anything later? Ji Yun'er gnashed her teeth, her eyes full of flames. Had it been under normal circumstances, such an expression would have been extremely powerful. However, under the effects of the severe pain, she could not even say a word properly. As for the force in her words, it was almost non-existent. The cold sweat had soaked through her clothes. She felt as if she was barely alive. I'm a doctor. Do you want me to see what is wrong with your current situation? Bailey Hong Zhuang looked calm, not revealing the slightest bit of panic. Her serious appearance made people unable to find the slightest trace of it being a disguise. You are a doctor? Ji Yun'er sneered. Do you think the people present here are all fools? Hong Zhuang is a doctor. She is a godly doctor with superb skills. Xia Zhiqing said. Not only Xia Zhiqing, even Lu Huaiyin and the others nodded. They had personally seen the medical skills of Bailey Hong Zong. It was very good and could not be compared to ordinary doctors. Originally, everyone did not put Bailey Hong Zhuang's words in their heart. However, at this moment, after seeing that even the teachers of the Tsanglan College were nodding in approval, their hearts could not help but wonder. So, was it true that Bailey Hong Zhuang really is a doctor? You say that you are a doctor, are you sure? Ji Yun'er sneered. You are all in a group. It is only natural that you will help Bailey Hong Zhuang. Miss Ji, what you are saying, it's not right. Lu Huiyin stepped forward, and his elderly face was a bit serious. I'm a teacher of the Tsanglan College. Why would I lie about this kind of thing? We could get into this miasma forest because of the detoxification dam made by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Xia Zhiqing followed. With Xia Zhiqing's words, Lin Yiro and other cultivators' expressions all changed. They were well aware of how toxic the miasma is. If not for their families, they would not have succeeded in entering the miasma forest. It was also for this reason that there weren't many people from each of their forces. Otherwise, it was possible that there would have been much more cultivators. After all, no one could argue it was too much. Since Bailey Hong Zhuang could develop a detoxification dam that could counter this miasma, it could be seen that the skills that she possessed were far beyond average. I have been wondering how they successfully entered this miasma forest. It turns out that Bailey Hong Zhuang made a detoxification dam. Huang Fuhui said, is feeling complex. While as a cultivator, the background of their families was very important. Many alchemists and doctors relied entirely on their own ability. The development of the detoxification dam by Bailey Hong Zhuang proved that her medical skills were not simple. Once this news spread, it would be enough for many families to offer an olive branch to Bailey Hong Zhuang. I can understand why Di Bei-chun likes Bailey Hong Zhuang. It is because she is a doctor with excellent medical skills. Yanling Xian said, with such a layer of identity, Bailey Hong Zhuang's value was very different. 1. You have been poisoned for a long time, but the other party has made this toxin such that the toxins will take some time to attack, and this will hide all relations that they have with it. Bailey Hong Zhuang's tone was light and easy, her posture lazy and uncaring, not at all tense despite the fact that the other side had their swords pointed towards her. Nonsense, that is impossible. Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged. Whether you believe or not, it is your own business, but later it will get more and more painful for you, and you will start bleeding until you die. Bailey Hong Zhuang gestured lazily, a bit of ridicule in her words, not the least bit worried for Ji Yun'er. Master, what are you going to do? Xiao He asked doubtfully. Others may not know it, but they understood their own master. This kind of strange poison could only have been developed by her. Fool her. Bailey Hong Zhuang raised a delicate brow, light flashing through her beautiful eyes. sly as a fox. Why should you fool her? Xiaohei had some doubts. Now that Ji Yun'er's life was in their hands, there was no need to play around anymore. Bailey Hong Zhuang blinked, her eyes full of wisdom. I want her to accept giving me the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator and give it to me with gratitude. With her current strength, she could simply not compete with the Ji family. They previously had a conflict, so she can't let Ji Yun'er die. What's more, with Ji Yun'er's attitude, she, JY, would try her best to kill her, BHZ, after she went back. Therefore, she must come up with a way to make the Ji family unable to do anything to her later. Sure enough, listening to the confident and determined judgment of Bailey Hong Zhuang, even Ji Yun'er's heart was swayed in confusion. In the Ji family, there were quite a few other competitive children who had strength similar to her. There were many people who would fight her for her position. She was no stranger to poison, and it was not impossible for someone to use it on her. For some time, Ji Yun'er's mind was overwhelmed, and she could no longer determine what to do. Doubtful thoughts flashed through the minds of Lin, Yi Ro, and the others. Bailey Hong Zhuang's conviction in her words had even made them doubt the truth of the matter. Bailey Hong Zhuang, you have to detoxify me. Ji Yun'er was unable to think of other things at the moment, the pain in her body almost causing her to collapse. She had fallen into a state of weakness. If it went on like this, she would lose consciousness. Why should I detoxify you? Bailey Hong Zhuang crossed her hands over her chest, her posture proud as she looked at Ji Yun'er. She and Ji Yun'er had no good feelings, on the contrary. They had had so many conflicts. Why would she ever help Ji Yun'er? Hearing Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Ji Yun'er felt herself going crazy. This woman was really abominable. Di Beichen's eyes showed his appreciation and amusement. His wifey was really smart. The originally difficult situation had been completely changed with his wifey's words. Now Ji Yun'er was even asking for her help. With just a few simple words, the situation had been completely reversed, and Bailey Hong Zhuang may now even become the benefactor of Ji Yun'er. Miss Bailey, we will have to trouble you to help our young miss in detoxification, the leader of the Ji family cultivators said. Although he was not a doctor, he could see that Ji Yun'er's situation was very bad. It was very likely that Bailey Hong Zhuang's words were true, and if they continued this way, Ji Yun'er would suffer. I will save her, even after she tried to kill me. Bailey Hong Zhuang sneered. I will never suffer a loss trading. 1. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, the faces of the Ji family cultivators became somewhat ugly. The contradiction between Bailey Hong Zhuang and Ji Yun'er had developed to a point where any semblance of peace was impossible. At this moment, they even appeared too demanding as they asked for help. After hearing Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Ji Yun'er almost fainted. She couldn't help but think of the time that she had forcefully laid claim on the demonic core of Qing Tianmo alligator that Bailey Hong Zhuang. She hadn't expected things to come to this point. Could she lose even more face? Would she completely lose all of her respect today? Miss Bailey, the demonic core of the Qing Tianmo alligator. We will hand it over to you. How about it? The Ji family cultivator asked tentatively. That demonic core was mine, but it was robbed by you. Bailey Hong Zhuang was indifferent, her stance on the matter unmoved. The meaning of her words was quite clear. A profiteer, the master is definitely the profiteer. Xiaohei said. He felt amazed that his master could still fool the Ji family like this. Firstly, she poisoned the other party, and then let the other party ask her for help, and then she made them thank her for saving their lives. Their master was really good at such calculations. Sure enough, she is our master. I feel really convinced. Xiaobai was excited. Seeing the shrill screaming of Ji Yun'er and the spurt of blood, he really felt very happy. Bailey Hong Zhuang, you are clearly trying to con us. Do you think our Ji family will give in to you? Ji Yun'er was depressed to the extreme. She regretted everything. If she had known the first time that she would face such a situation, she would have never taken the initiative to provoke Bailey Hong Zhuang. Absolutely not. Just that, now it was too late. Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged. I didn't say I wanted to take advantage of you. The reward I need for my work is extremely high. You don't want to give it, I don't want it. Her voice fell, and Bailey Hong Zhuang was too lazy to even look at Ji Yuner, who was still on the ground, anymore. You're such an annoying person. Even if I save you now, sooner or later in the future, there will be people who will want to kill you. Saving you is a sheer waste of my strength. Such pretense. 1. You are still continuing to pretend. Ji Yuner screamed wildly in her heart, but she could say nothing with her mouth. Now, Bailey Hong Zhuang had completely eaten her. 2. The cultivators of the Ji family were speechless at this moment, and Ji Yuner was really helpless. Originally, they would have paid Bailey Hong Zhuang the price required. But now, because of Ji Yuner, the price would be even higher. Miss Bailey, I have some valuable medicine here. I don't know if this will be enough to save our miss. Bailey Hong Zhuang was indifferent and proud. I will not take the attitude of your Mississippi. Miss Bailey, I have some money here. You can go buy something you want. Bailey Hong Zhuang glanced at the golden card, still unmoved. Miss Bailey, I have some demonic crystals and medicinal herbs there. The cultivators of the Ji family constantly superimpose their rewards, and each reward caused great shock to appear in the eyes of Xia Zhiqing and the others. I'll go. So many treasures, but Hong Zhuang is still so indifferent. Xia Zhiqing's eyes were full of emotion. In the blink of an eye, Bailey Hong Zhuang had made a lot of money. Dong Fangyu's eyes were full of smile. Hong Zhuang is waiting for Ji Yuner to bow. Chapter 5, 10 I beg you to save me. In the face of Bailey Hong Zhuang's indifference, the faces of the Ji family's cultivators became difficult to look at. They had already paid a lot of money. At this moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang suddenly made a noise. Even if I promise to help, I have to see if your Miss Ji is willing or not. Ji Yuner looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with resentment. This was the first time she had felt such hatred. This woman was really abominable. Mississippi. The Ji family's leader looked helplessly at Ji Yuner, indicating that Ji Yuner says something. Ji Yuner turned her head reluctantly. If she bowed her head today, she would not be qualified to look at the others properly. Upon seeing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang pushed away all of the things given to her by the Ji family cultivators, a faint smile on her lips. To help the dying and healing the injured is also predestined. I didn't want to do anything too much, but since Miss Ji's attitude is like this, I will not treat her. Next, Bailey Hong Zhuang closed her eyes and adjusted her body, just waiting for the ward to disappear. The poison that she herself configured, she understood well. If it had not been for her current strength not being enough, she would never have used it on Ji Yuner. In that instant, the atmosphere turned stagnant. Ji Yuner had not expected that Bailey Hong Zhuang would be so adamant and give everything back so easily. Isn't it said that the children of these families are very smart? Why do I feel that this Ji Yuner is exceptionally stupid? Xia Zhiqing frowned. She really couldn't understand Ji Yuner, who deliberately looked for trouble. Miss, the face of the cultivator, who was heading the Ji family's people, had become extremely embarrassed. He had always known the temper of his own lady, but this was not the time to lose it. Since the other had demanded this, shouldn't she be more thoughtful? Even 10 years were not late for a gentleman's revenge. Couldn't Ji Yuner even comprehend that? Thinking of this, the man's eyes could not help but fill with disappointment. Ji Yuner had such an IQ. It would not be easy to achieve a firm status in the Ji family in the future. Ji Yuner's face was pale. She was completely smothered in anger. She had lived arrogantly for so many years. When had she ever had to plead someone? Suddenly, Ji Yuner felt that there was something warm flowing from the tip of her nose. She reached out and saw that black blood was flowing out from her nose. It was like Bailey Hong Zhuang said this was a sign of poisoning. Ah! Ji Yuner screamed, but when she thought of dying such a bloody death, she was even more afraid. The pain was getting worse, and more blood flowed out of her nose. I don't want to die. Ji Yuner's voice was overwhelmed. I don't want to die. Her status was so honorable, and her days were extremely comfortable. How could she die like this? Ji Yuner lifted her eyes, her gaze falling onto Bailey Hong Zhuang. She immediately shouted to Bailey Hong Zhuang, "I don't want to die." However, in response to Ji Yuner, Bailey Hong Zhuang was still indifferent. Even her brows did not move, as if she hadn't heard anything. Ji Yuner was really scared at this moment. She knew that Bailey Hong Zhuang was the only hope she had to survive. She immediately crawled towards Bailey Hong Zhuang. She grabbed onto Bailey Hong Zhuang's clothes and shouted, "Save me! Save me! Save me! I beg you to save me!" Even now, Bailey Hong Zhuang was indifferent. Chapter 511, promising a favor. Seeing this scene, a complicated expression appeared in the eyes of Yin Ling Xian and the others. The matters had grown to the present scene. It was all because of Ji Yuner. It was her who ruined her own situation. As long as Ji Yuner accepted, this matter would be resolved. If Ji Yuner had not made unnecessary provocations in the first place, she would have never been in this situation. However, the sudden change of Bailey Hong Zhuang from the previously weak to the current strong stance made a chill run down their spines. This Bailey Hong Zhuang is not a simple person. It is better if we don't fight her or offend her. Lin Yirou's eyes sparkled with foresight. So far, although they didn't know whether the poison was really given by Bailey Hong Zhuang or another person. However, the means of Bailey Hong Zhuang made it absolutely impossible to doubt her. Huang Fuhui also had the same feeling and nodded. She is very intelligent. Among all of us, she may be the weakest, but she still stands out the most. It is not strange that Ji Yuner has been defeated by her. Ino Ling Xian shrunk his neck. Fortunately, there was the experimental shield Ji Yuner. Otherwise, if he would have offended Bailey Hong Zhuang at this moment, he was afraid that his condition would not be much better than Ji Yuner's. Even without her relationship with Di Beichun, Bailey Hong Zhuang was still a calm and terrible person. That was before. Now, I am not going to help. Bailey Hong Zhuang's voice and face were cold. Her deep phoenix-like eyes filled with ice and determination, taking away the slightest hope from people. Ji Yuner only felt that the strength of her entire body was getting weaker and weaker, and the feeling of despair shrouded her. Previously, she only believed in her own family and did not believe she was going to die. However, now she no longer had any doubts. "I beg you, I will never go against you again. Please save me," Ji Yuner cried. Ji Jia's head cultivator, 1, also requested, "Miss Bailey, I want you to treat Our Lady's poisoning. This kindness we will keep in our minds when you need it in the future. We will not refuse to help you." His words made the faces of the people change again. Kindness from Ji Jia. It was a terrific thing. Compared to all the treasures that they had offered before, Ji Jia's favor was the most precious. Lu Huaiyin and Fu Hongbo's face was full of incredulity. The situation had changed really too fast, making it hard to accept. To Bailey Hong Zhuang's means, I really applaud. Lu Huaiyin smiled with a sigh of relief, thinking how he and Fu Hongbo had been so easily seen through by Bailey Hong Zhuang when they first met. Bailey Hong Zhuang at that time was already unfathomable. Di Gongzi, you have been acquaintances with our miss for many years. Deep Beichen pondered for a moment, and then walked to the side of Bailey Hong Zhuang, at an angle which could not be seen by everyone, too. Since Bailey Hong Zhuang's purpose had been reached, they must make sure Ji Yuner didn't actually die. "Nyangzi, I have known the girl for a long time. Will you help her get rid of the poison?" Hearing these words, Bailey Hong Zhuang looked deeply into Di Beichen's eyes, but there was a trace of hesitation in her brows. She nodded. "Then, all right." Ji Yuner's eyes flashed with excitement. The cultivators of Jijia also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, they would not lose their lives. Thank you, thank you." Ji Yuner had no temper at the moment and actually began to thank him. List of chapters 1. Not the head of the entire family, just this group of cultivators from Jijia. 2. The Ross says which cannot be seen by everyone. Chapter 512 Master is too black-bellied, too domineering. Xiao He excitedly raised his thumb. Their master's ability to reverse black and white was really powerful. Ji Yuner being so grateful to Di Bei Chun is exactly what their master had wanted to achieve. In this way, the Ji Jia cultivators would have to thank their master, and Ji Yuner would have to stop bothering them. Their master could really make great use of people without them even knowing through her means. Master is too black-bellied. Xiao Bai said a bit emotionally. This time they had really made a big profit. Di Bei Chin's eyes were full of smiles. His own woman was really a clever little fox. She would not let others take advantage of her, and was always the profiteer, making her even cuter in his eyes. In this case, I will help you get rid of the poison. Bailey Hong Zhuang's voice was cold. It looked like if Di Bei Chun had not stepped in, she would not have helped Ji Yuner get rid of the poison. Therefore, Ji Yuner and the others were more and more grateful to Di Bei Chun. Bailey Hong Zhuang directly took out a silver needle, and with great skill, quickly and accurately inserted it into an acupoint of Ji Yuner. Seeing this scene, in exception to the people of the Tsanglan College and Di Bei Chun, doubts emerged on the faces of other people. They had never seen such a strange healing method before. However, after Han Xiling saw what Bailey Hong Zhuang was doing, the glimmer of light in her eyes dimmed, and her originally aloof appearance changed a bit. How is it possible? Han Xiling said, "What is this treatment? I have never seen it before." Yin Ling Zhen was greatly puzzled. In all his years, he had never seen a doctor use such a method for detoxification. Lin Yiro also, though hard as she frowned, her eyes locked tight on a Bailey Hong Zhuang's movements. Why do I feel that this method is very familiar? I also have the same feeling. Huang Fu Hui agreed with a nod. He must have heard of it, but he could not remember it at the moment. Suddenly, Lin Yiro and Huang Fu Hui looked at each other. They both looked like they had seen a ghost. Yin Ling Sun noticed the change in the two people and could not help but question. Why do you have such an expression? Do you already know what Bailey Hong Zhuang is doing? The lost art of acupuncture. Lin Yiro sighed softly. The art of acupuncture? Yin Ling Xian's tone was forceful. How could he not know that the powerful art of healing with acupuncture had been long lost? However, this method had long since disappeared. He didn't know how many long years the doctors lamented the loss of this technique. If it was not for Lin Yiro, he would not have connected Bailey Hong Zhuang with the long-lost acupuncture. The art of acupuncture. The faces of the four cultivator families and those of Tiangang Zone all changed. When they looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang again, their eyes were full of horror. Through careful examination, they found that the technique used by Bailey Hong Zhuang and the art of acupuncture looked really similar. Hasn't the art of acupuncture been ousted for many years? How could it appear again? Yeah, even if it appears, it's not possible for it to appear in the hands of a young little girl. Maybe it's true. This girl's medicine is very good. If not, how could she have developed a detoxification dan to deal with the miasma? The cultivators of Jijia were all filled with fascination. They were worried that Bailey Hong Zhuang would not be able to cure their young miss, but now it seems that there would be no problem. Chapter 513, playing a very good role of resemblance. Everyone looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with amazement and constantly wondered if their thoughts were correct. "Miss Bailey, don't you have a detoxification dan?" One cultivator from Jijia asked. They had thought that Bailey Hong Zhuang would be able to purge the poison using a detoxification dan, but it now seemed that the situation was much more complicated. "I'm not a prophet. How could I have a detoxification dan for her poisoning?" Hearing this question from Bailey Hong Zhuang, Jijia's cultivators looked embarrassed. So far, they could not determine whether this poison was the work of Bailey Hong Zhuang. This time, they were really planted in the hands of Bailey Hong Zhuang. However, as everyone saw the sweat dripping from Bailey Hong Zhuang's forehead and her pale face, their looks changed. If this poison was really the work of Bailey Hong Zhuang did not need to detoxify so laboriously. They were going to enter the ancient monument later. Wasn't this asking for trouble? Was it true, then, that it was someone else who caused this poisoning? At the thought of this, the faces of Ji Yuner and Ji Jia's cultivators became ugly and unsightly. She had been very careful even in the family, but she had not expected that she had been given a poison. This matter must be checked after they went back. Master, in order to detoxify this annoying woman, you are even expending so much energy. Xiao Bai's eyes revealed the color of worry. Compared to the inheritance of the ancient monument, Ji's favor was nothing. Xiao He was also worried that their master would suffer a loss this time. Bailey Hong Zhuang smirked and explained, "Don't worry, I'm just putting up a show." Before she had poisoned her, she had already thought of everything. Detoxification was not too complicated, not at all like what it looked. It's just that she's going to swindle them again. She was a physician, and it was not a problem for her to make her face look pale by using various methods. Xiao Bai and Xiao He were speechless. Their master's methods were beyond their imagination. It was really not like her normal image. Inexplicably, they began to sympathize with the group of deceived cultivators of Jijia. They were afraid that the other party had already begun thinking of who poisoned Ji Yuner. Even for someone wise like Di Bei-chun, at this moment, after seeing the face of Bailey Hong Zhuang, his handsome face showed an expression of worry. When Bailey Hong Zhuang used to treat him, he already knew the degree of fatigue it would cause Bailey Hong Zhuang. If Bailey Hong Zhuang were to become weak now, then it was not good. After a while, Bailey Hong Zhuang released the silver needle and said, "Okay." Ji Yuner felt a burst of joy when she listened to this. She had almost become lifeless. When she turned around, she saw the pale face of Bailey Hong Zhuang. She couldn't say anything even if she felt like screaming. Was it true that someone from her family poisoned her? Bailey Hong Zhuang's expression did not look fake, not to mention the fact that Bailey Hong Zhuang had saved her life. If she treated Bailey Hong Zhuang with the same attitude as before, she was afraid everyone would despise her. "Thank you." Ji Yuner stood up and, looking very unnatural, she walked away. Right now, her mood was very complicated, and except for her herself, I am afraid that no one could understand her. Lin Yiro on the other stared at Ji Yuner. It was really rare for her to put down her hatred, but in front of so many people, if she still acted jealously, then it would only evoke everyone's disgust. Chapter 5:14 Tenderness Mine. As this scene happened, the others quieted down. Previously, the one creating a racket had been Ji Yuner, and the contradictions later were also because of her provocations. Now that Ji Yuner was no longer looking for trouble, everyone was naturally very quiet. Everything sent by Ji's cultivators was kept in the Chinquan bag. The behemoths like Jijia were just like fat sheep slaughtered for riches in her eyes. Di Bei-chun walked up to sit down beside Bailey Hong Zhuang and quietly raised his thumb. Wifey's ruse was really wonderful. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyebrows rose, and she looked at Di Bei-chun. "I didn't do anything." Hearing this, Di Bei-chun's lips arced in an evil smile. His wifey was really a cunning little fox. For the means of his own wife, he was quite aware that she would never suffer a loss whenever and wherever she was. Next, the handsome face of Di Bei-chun showed a touch of seriousness and concern. "Nyangzi, you just helped detoxify Ji Yuner. How is her body?" Saying this, Di Bei-chun took out a damn medicine and took it up to Bailey Hong Zhuang's cinnabar lips. Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head and signaled that she was fine. She said, "Don't worry, I have no problems." However, Di Bei-chun still stubbornly tried to feed it to Hong Zhuang. "You will enter the monument later, and your state is like this. How can I feel at ease?" Looking at the care and distress in Bai Bei-chun's eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang's own eyes flashed with the light of warmth, and she could not stop the spreading traces of gentleness. She had always been hesitant about accepting Di Bei-chun. Firstly, because of the disparity in their identity, and regardless of who she was in the past. Right now, she was just the daughter of an ordinary general from a small country, not to mention the inexplicable hatred. One. Secondly, because she had treated Di Bei-chun's legs, perhaps Bei-chun was only grateful to her, and so he had been taking care of her. However, under such circumstances, when Di Bei-chun cared for her, her firm heart gradually melted. Even now, Di Bei-chun was not clear about her inner thoughts, but she felt that if Di Bei-chun would always be with her, she would also be happy. The feeling of being cared for by another person felt really good. When Di Bei-chun saw Bailey Hong Zhuang looking up at him, he looked at the limpid, watery eyes of Bailey Hong Zhuang, his heart shaking and a smile spreading on his lips. On this trip to the ancient monument, he and his wifey could make such a progress. He really felt it was worthwhile. Rest assured, my paleness is just a disguise, and in fact, there is no damage, Bailey Hong Zhuang said softly. You keep your dam for now, until the time we need it, and then use it. Di Bei-chun paused, but after seeing the gradually improving face of Bailey Hong Zhuang, he also began to believe in Bailey Hong Zhuang's words. And in his heart, there was an even bigger sigh. It seems that even he had been fooled by his wifey's means. Not far away, Han Shiling was looking at the closeness of Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. A smudge of haze slowly appeared in her eyes, and the hands under the sleeves were clenched into fists. She had never seen Di Gij show such tenderness until Bailey Hong Zhuang appeared. The kind of tenderness she had hoped for many times in her midnight dreams. However, Di Bei-chun never showed her such tenderness, and it was now dedicated to another woman. No, that tenderness should be hers. It had just been 3 years. She must take back the tenderness that belongs to her. Chapter 5:15. Leaving and entering the monument. The ward is gradually disappearing. A shout came, and everyone's gazes immediately locked onto the ancient monument. The ward, which was originally shining with a colorful light, gradually dissipated like the melting of the snow, and there was no obstruction between the people and the relic. The white body of the monument was magnificent, and a tall and thick white jade door appeared in front of everyone. In the face of such a huge door, everyone's heart was inevitably filled with a sense of awe. As a younger generation, in the face of a legacy left by a predecessor, they would always feel awe and yearning. The ward has disappeared. We now enter it. Lu Huayan's voice was full of excitement, and his originally faint breathing had become rushed. Everyone nodded, and their eyes shone with the rich light of excitement. For the treasures in the monument, they had long been blinded. The moment when the ward completely disappeared, the 4 cultivation families in Tiangang Zone had already begun making their move and rushed to the monument without hesitation. The treasures inside were all unknown. First come, first serve. The ones coming late could only rob from the hands of other people. Nyangzi, be careful after entering. If you can, you must follow behind me. Di Bei-chun's face was filled with a dignified color, and he gazed deeply at Bailey Hong Zhuang. The traces of worry in his eyes were overflowing as he said these words. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. I understand. Okay, let's go in. Di Bei-chun nodded and immediately took the hand of Bailey Hong Zhuang and rushed towards the door. Lu Huayan and the others also no longer hesitated, and they too rushed towards the door. Only Lu Qin stayed in the same place. She had already made her decision, and even though the inside would be full of eyes catching treasures, the most important thing was to keep your life. Gong Gij 1, I will be waiting for you at the Songlan College. You must come back safely. Lu Qin looked at the departing back of Gong Shaoqing and couldn't help but shout. There were faint tears in her eyes. She was really worried about this. If she went back first and was unable to see Gong Shaoqing later. I will. Gong Shaoqing responded, but never looked back. Ding, ding, ding. 2. The crowd had just pushed open the heavy doors when countless arrows flew directly at them from inside. Some of the cultivators who could nod it quick enough were hit by these arrows and lost their lives. Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang had started a few moments later than everyone else, so they stopped after seeing the arrow attack. Sure enough, there are many organs, 3, in the ancient monument. They must have been activated when the door was opened. There was a faint emotion in the words of Bailey Hong Zhuang, and the previously white building had been contaminated with blood, and the faint bloody smell was also spreading in the air. The dignified emotion in Di Bei-chun's eyes was getting thicker and thicker. The danger in this monument is a bit more than we anticipated. In my opinion, It will not be a simple matter to enter this monument. We don't need to be too anxious. Let's go in after everyone enters. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes flashed with wisdom. This ruin was so huge that there must be passages in every direction when they enter. Even if they go in late, they will not lose out on too much. Hearing these words, Di Bei Chun was amazed in his heart. At this moment, his wife was not blinded by the treasures inside the monument. On the contrary, she was so calm, which really made him feel at ease. Chapter 5:16 Choices. Different channels. Ding ding. The sound of clanging iron and gold sounded, and the arrows that shot out from the ancient monument were swept away by powerful and sturdy cultivators. Apart from the initial cultivators who were directly hit by the arrows, others were never injured. After the rain of fired arrows stopped, everyone went in again, but their speed was a lot slower than before. No, they were full of caution about this monument. However, until everyone entered the monument, no other attacks or traps emerged. Boom! The crowd had just entered the ancient monument when a loud and heavy voice sounded, and the previously open doors had been closed shut. Everyone was shocked and wanted to open the doors of the ancient monument again, only to find that no matter how hard they tried, the door was not moving. For a time, everyone's hearts sank. It seemed that they had no way out. As the doors had been closed, everything had fallen into darkness, and the darkness enveloped everyone, making them reach out for those near them. Where is this? Why is it so strange? Bai Junyu frowned. The situation inside the ancient monument right now was beyond his expectations. I don't know, but with this darkness, I can't see the path at all. How do we go? Xia Zhiqing replied. She had already heard that anything could happen in ancient monuments, but this event of closing them in was beyond her imagination. Did they want to keep all of them here? Suddenly, a golden halo appeared in front of everyone, and the surroundings were still dark, but everyone could judge that this halo was coming from deep within a monument, illuminating different channels. It seems that we have to choose a way. Di Bei Chen's voice was heavy. At first glance, they could see that the passages in front of them were all the same, and there was no difference at all. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slowly. Different channels may have different results. This kind of thing, apart from the master of the monument, they would simply not know the final result. Once they chose wrongly, they may be trapped in the monument forever and never see the sunshine again. The cruelty of ancient monuments had always been famous. Once they succeeded, the cultivators would undergo a qualitative change, but once they failed, it meant death. The appearance of every ancient monument was accompanied by the fall of countless cultivators, so everyone had to care about the attraction that such inheritance emitted. With so many channels, which one should I choose? Bailey Hong Zhuang's phoenix-like eyes narrowed, her eyes constantly darting between the many channels in front of her, looking for differences, not giving up on any clue she could find. Once she chose, she may lose her life, so she can't be careless. This kind of an ancient monument is really on another level. There is no difference between these channels. Xiaohei could not help but sigh. It had observed for a long time, let alone any differences, even the brightness of the light was exactly the same. Which should they choose? It seems that we can only rely on luck for this thing. Xiao Bai was also helpless. All the people with good brains were most afraid of encountering situations depending on pure luck. All the people had been silent for a while, but they had become impatient. There were those who were unwilling to wait and directly choose a channel and walked into it. No matter, let's go straight in and see. The voice fell, and a cultivator had already walked into the passage nearest him. With this initiative, other cultivators also followed suit after a few moments of thought, choosing their paths to go inside. Chapter 5:17 Yangzi. Which one do you choose? Huangfu Hui, are you going in? Yanling Xian looked at Di Bei Chun, who had still not decided, and asked. In the blink of an eye, most of the cultivators had gone, and they had not heard the slightest news from these people after they had entered the passages. The cultivators had entered in almost every channel. He had been looking at the passages for a long time, but had never seen any problems with any of them. It was really impossible to continue to wait. Listening to Yin Ling Xian's question, Huang Fu Hui's face was also a little helpless. I can't find any differences. I'm going in. Lin Ero nodded softly, and there was a glimmer of light on her pretty face. I will also walk in. Life and death have their own destiny, and I believe that my life will not be so bad. Her voice falling, Lin Ero did not hesitate to walk into the channel in front of her, looking firm and decisive. Seeing Lin Ero's decisive decision, Yin Ling Xian and Huang Fu Hui looked at each other a moment and walked into the passage that they had chosen. Ji Yun'er also no longer delayed after seeing everyone's actions. Now she only felt embarrassed when she saw Bailey Hong Zhuang. It was better to make a choice early. Hong Zhuang, in my opinion, now we can only choose indiscriminately. Xia Zhiqing's face flashed with a bit of helplessness. At this moment, it was no longer possible to continue hesitating. Since it was all luck, they could only choose with faith in themselves. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly, and her face also had traces of helplessness. Yes, just pick one. The situation may not be what we imagined. Xia Zhiqing took the lead, and Gong Shaoqing and the others also entered the channels. For the time being, only Bailey Hong Zhuang, Di Bei Chun, and Han Xiling were left. Han Xiling went directly to the side of Di Bei Chun, and her beautiful and delicate face did not hide her intimateness and dependence on Di Bei Chun. Di Gij, which channel will you choose? I will go with you. Han Xiling asked. Di Bei Chun's expression had a momentary change, but he quickly recovered his neutral look. Obviously, he had not expected Han Xiling to ask to go with him. However, after thinking about it, he felt it was very normal. After all, they had both gone out for experiences together before. Master, it seems that this Han Xiling wants to wrap around your man. Xiao Hei's face was full of disgust and dissatisfaction. The most hateful things were such white lotuses. It was clear that her heart was black, but on the surface, she was still pretending with this kind of understanding, beautiful, and moving appearance. Just looking at her, it felt a bit disgusted. This trouble can't be solved for a while, but she will disappear from in front of my eyes sooner or later. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent. She did not care about Han Xiling following Di Bei Chun. Since she was willing to follow, let her follow. Han Xiling and Di Bei Chun had been together for so many years, but Di Bei Chun had no feelings for her in his heart. She had nothing to worry about. Xiao Hei and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with an inexplicable emotion. They didn't understand what their master was thinking. It was reasonable to say that such an annoying person like Han Xiling was definitely not good news. Why was the master not worried at all? Nyangzi, which one will you choose? Di Bei Chun looked into Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes, his own still full of tenderness. Whichever one his wifey chose was the one he would take. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's line of sight swept over all the passages and finally settled on the leftmost passage. I choose that one. This channel had been chosen by the fewest number of people, but she had a feeling about this channel. Chapter 5:18 Di Bei Chen's attitude. In fact, it was not only because of that fact that Billy Hong Zhuang chose that channel, but because when she pointed at the passage, she found that the ring of chaos trembled slightly. This was the first time that she had felt such a reaction from the ring of chaos. She had been experimenting before, and she found that when she pointed to these passages, the ring of chaos sometimes had no movement, but sometimes it trembled, and the intensity of vibration was different for the passages. Among them, the most volatile reaction was from this channel, so she did not hesitate to choose this channel. Di Bei Chen looked at the passage and nodded. Whichever one you choose is the one we will take. However, as Di Bei Chen was preparing to walk forward, Han Xiling suddenly held Di Bei Chen's sleeves and said, Di Gij, I think that passage is not good. We should choose the one in the middle. With the voice of Han Xiling falling, the atmosphere around stagnated. This was no doubt giving Di Bei Chen two choices. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked indifferent and said, Then I will move forward. At this moment, she would not fight unnecessarily with Han 11 Ling to show her sovereignty. Others had already begun to act, and she could no longer continue to delay. Her words were said, and Bailey Hong Zhuang no longer hesitated and went straight towards the leftmost channel. Han Xiling saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang walked off without a fight, and a touch of smugness quietly flashed through her eyes, and she then said, "Di Gijwi." However, without talking Han Xiling, Di Bei Chun interrupted her words, said, "Xiling, since you think that the channel in the middle is right, you go there. It should be no problem with your strength. I will go first." With this, Di Bei Chun did not hesitate, walking in the direction of Bailey Hong Zhuang. He had already said he would not let Bailey Hong Zhuang be alone. He was also very familiar with the attitude of Bailey Hong Zhuang, who had left. His time with Hong Zhuang was not short. The arrogance in her heart he could understand very well. He was afraid that the appearance of Xiling would only cause her dissatisfaction. With the arrogance of his wife, she would not fight for him and find it an unnecessary problem. He really should solve this problem quickly. Seeing Di Bei Chun leave so hastily, Han Xiling's face was ugly. Once upon a time, Di Bei Chun never had such an attitude toward her, leaving directly and not even giving her a little face. In just 3 years, Di Gij had such a big change. At the moment when Bailey Hong Zhuang entered the passage, Di Bei Chun once again took her hand. "Nyangzi, you can't leave your husband behind and go by yourself." Di Bei Chun's voice was slightly teasing, but the words sounded seriously in Bailey Hong Zhuang's ears, and her palms had been wrapped with his warm ones. Bailey Hong Zhuang turned her line of sight and looked over the handsome face of Di Bei Chun, which held a smile and an expression of indulgence. So close, so warm. After all, he did not hesitate to choose her and walk with her, and Bailey Hong Zhuang's mouth overflowed with a smile. She understood that the reason for Di Bei Chun's current attitude to Han Xiling was because he and Han Xiling had known each other for many years. Now, the actions of Di Bei Chun had clearly demonstrated his attitude. He had nothing more to do with Han Xiling except for their friendship in addition to their many years of acquaintance. Bailey Hong Zhuang tightly held onto Di Bei Chun's hand, a shallow smile of her charming face. "Let's go." Only Han Xiling stood in the same place. Watching the backs of the two people, her eyes were very murky. Chapter 519, Lost in an Illusion. As Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun walked in the passage, they found that there was still no end to the darkness. Both were walking quite fast. However, no matter how fast the two's speed was, there was still a long darkness before them, as if there was no end. What kind of passage is this? It's really weird. Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows knotted. They had been walking for so long. It was reasonable to say that even if the monument was huge, they would have already come to an end. It seems that there is no danger in this passage, but it is only a test of whether we can find the exit. Di Bei Chun's voice was low, and his eyes were constantly looking around the passage. Needless to say, he had already guessed that they had been walking so long and not seen anyone. It was possibly because they have not yet noticed the place where the exit was. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. There was no danger in this passage, which made her relieved. At least she did not have to worry about her life. If it is as I expect, then what we see in front of us should be an illusion. Bailey Hong Zhuang's voice was determined and confident. She had seen illusions before, but the illusion cast by each cultivator was different. What the illusion they saw in front of them was despairing darkness. "Illusion," Di Bei Chun slowly said, and there was some confusion and wonder between his eyebrows. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled faintly. "The illusion is just a fictitious scene created by cultivators in a special way. If other cultivators are caught in it, they may not even know it. Perhaps in the eyes of others, we are just standing still. This monument size we have seen on the outside, and it is absolutely impossible for this passage to go on for so long. Therefore, an illusion is the only possible answer." There was such a special method. I'd never heard of, Di Bei Chun lamented. His wifey knew a lot of things. Though when he thought about it, he felt that his wifey's words were very reasonable. Seeing that Di Bei Chun had never heard of illusions, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but pause. In the era of her previous life, illusions was an art that many cultivators had mastered. However, Each person's illusions were different. Some cultivators have poor illusion, which was not enough to confuse people. And there were some cultivators who were extremely superb and could make the people live carefree in the jaws of death but have no knowledge. It should not be impossible to have heard of illusions before with Di Bei Chen's identity. Di Bei Chen's serious appearance did not look fake. Was it true that only in the past 1,000 years the art of illusions had completely disappeared from the Shengshua continent? Just as Bailey Hong Zhuang thought this, Di Bei Chen's next words made her affirm her own guess. Nyangzi, you know a lot of things, even I can't compare. Yu's deep as sea eyes were full of admiration. Di Bei Chen thought that he knows a lot of things, but when compared to Bailey Hong Zhuang, he found that the knowledge he had was not as good as his wifey. Whether it was the technique of vibrating needles, or acupuncture, or even the current illusion, he had never known of them before, but Bailey Hong Zhuang had mastered them. This was not ordinary. Just who was his wife? Why did she know about the lost things that many people had not heard of at all? Thinking of this, Di Bei Chen's hand holding on to Bailey Hong Zhuang's could not help but tighten, and the feelings that Bailey Hong Zhuang made him feel really made him embarrassed. It made him feel like he could not grasp onto her. It seemed that there was an invisible layer of cloth that separated him from Bailey Hong Zhuang, so that he could not truly look at her. Chapter 5:20 A Flaw, a Mysterious Illusion. She did not care much about the secret of her identity. It was just that such a thing, even if it got out, no one would believe it. She was also not willing to add more trouble. If in the future, she and Di Bei Chen reached a point where their hearts and souls could connect, she may tell this thing calmly to Di Bei Chen. As for now, she pushed her inexplicable knowledge onto her imaginary master. We will observe the nuances in the vicinity. As long as this is an illusion, there will be flaws, but it is difficult to find these flaws. Hearing this, Di Bei Chen nodded, but the hand holding Bailey Hong Zhuang's was not released. He just looked carefully at everything around him. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisha were not idle at this moment, and they also helped Bailey Hong Zhuang to find flaws in this illusion. This is really enough. There is nothing more than darkness here. Where can anyone find flaws? Xiao He finally couldn't help his helplessness, his eyes drying. He couldn't find any flaws here, which great master designed and created such an illusion. Xiao Bai, who had been silent all this while said, looking for flaws in such a place, it was a joke. Just as the two of them trapped in the passage, the situation of other cultivators was worse than them. Just like the fluctuations from the ring of chaos. Among the unresponsive passages, the cultivators who walked and had died, and the smell of blood gradually spread. And those passages which produced relatively small fluctuations had emergences of various traps. These traps had certain risks, but as long as your response was fast enough, it was not impossible to escape from these traps. Among all the passages, there was no risk only in the passage Bailey Hong Zhuang chose. Bailey Hong Zhuang stopped a moment, since she had already determined the situation in front of her. They would not have to continue moving forward. Where is the flaw? Bailey Hong Zhuang was constantly thinking about this, and looking at the ground, tried to look for any differences there. No matter what, no matter where she observes, she had not found any problems at all. There seems to be no problem here. Wifey, is it really an illusion? Di Bei Chen asked. Bailey Hong Zhuang thought for a moment, shook her head and said, No, this must be an illusion. Since we can only go back and forth, then we will try to walk to the side. A bright light appeared in Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes. In the past, she also had a certain understanding of illusions. Usually, in such a situation, the effect she wanted could be achieved as long as she did the opposite. Sideways. Di Bei Chen had some doubts. He did not understand what she meant to say. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. This is a characteristic of illusions. Let's try it first. If it succeeds, I will explain it to you. Good. Bailey Hong Zhuang turned to look at Di Bei Chen, saying, Now close your eyes. In your mind, think firmly that everything in front of you is fake. Don't doubt it. Then go to the side and walk towards the wall. Do not hesitate. In. Di Bei Chen replied with no hesitance. He always believed in Bailey Hong Zhuang. Even if it looked like a hard wall in front of him, it was very likely that it was an illusion, and he had no doubt about it. Chapter 521 Successful, The Hall of the Monument. Next, Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang did not hesitate to smash straight through the walls on the sides. Seeing this scene, Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Baisher couldn't help but cover their eyes. This was too cruel, directly hitting the wall. If it was not as their master predicted, then Master and Di Bei Chun would be really unlucky. Boom! A loud noise blasted in Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen's ears. The two only felt that they had hit the real thing accidentally, but the expected pain did not come. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly opened her eyes, but she saw Di Bei Chun looking at her with a smile. The darkness in front of them, they did not win. It had disappeared, and it was replaced by bright light. Wifey, we have succeeded. In Di Bei Chen's eyes, there was difficult to conceal the expression of surprise. He was really convinced by the wisdom of his wife. For this illusion, he simply did not understand it. If his wife had not thought of the flaws in the illusion, he was afraid that he could not estimate how much time he would have wasted in the passage. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips parted in a faint smile. It seems that what she had expected was indeed true. In front of them, there were passages intricately extending in all directions, and tightly closed stone chambers appeared on both sides of the passageway, and some treasures were placed in these stone chambers. The two turned their heads and saw that all the darkness they had seen before was unreal, and the long, unending passage was in fact just a short road of 12 meters. However, they also saw a lot of cultivators constantly stepping past them, their faces full of ecstasy, just like there were treasures in front of them. In other passages, there were also many bodies. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes unintentionally fell onto the ring of chaos on her hand. If it wasn't for the ring of chaos guiding her to a safe passage, she would not have so easily broken out of the predicament. Suddenly, Bailey Hong Zhuang saw Xia Zhiqing, who was still on the other side, and she shouted, Zhiqing, Zhiqing, can you hear me? However, no matter how Bailey Hong Zhuang shouted, Xia Zhiqing still blankly walked ahead. Obviously, she couldn't hear the voice of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang was also somewhat helpless. Fortunately, the road they chose was not a dead end, and she was relieved. Then, let's go first. Bailey Hong Zhuang turned to look at Di Bei Chun. And Di Bei Chun nodded, walking forward with Bailey Hong Zhuang. Boom! As a stone room opened, countless particles of dust were stirred up, and Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun discovered that there were a lot of martial arts on the inside. The level of these martial arts was not high. Mostly they were yellow-gray martial arts, but it was still possible to auction a lot of these at expensive prices. As Bailey Hong Zhuang picked up a martial art, she discovered that the martial art directly disintegrated onto the ground. It seems that these martial arts have been in this chamber for too many long years, and the paper has now been turned into ash. Martial arts were the essence of many cultivators, so it was a pity that they had decayed with time. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. No longer delaying, she said, It seems that these martial arts can't be saved. We'll go back. Good. Di Bei Chun agreed. From the degree of aging of these papers, it seems that this monument is at least a few hundred years old. It's been here a long time. A lot of the treasures will be no longer useful. Let's just look at what else is still here. Chapter 5, 22 Treasures, Mysterious Stone Room. Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang walked forward. The stone rooms by the side of the path were opened by them, and some things inside had turned useless over time. However, when the two left, they still carefully closed the doors of the stone tools. It took a little time and delayed them. Although with the existence of the illusion, everyone would be trapped for a while, they believed that after a period of time, everyone will understand the key to breaking it. The time this monument has been buried is too long. Except for the inheritance left by the Lord, I am afraid that there will not be many useful things. After opening a few stone chambers in a row, A bright light flashed in Di Bei Chen's eyes. The treasures had been sealed. It was not good for it to be so for a long time. Too many resources became useless as time went by, and there was very little they could get. For example, just now they saw a small arsenal of weapons, but the weapons had become like waste residue over time. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. After being buried for such a long time, all treasures must have turned to waste. For them, ordinary weapons and martial arts were not of much use, and they could only be sold to gain money. Although money was important, they were not lacking for the time being, so it didn't matter either way. The two people went all the way forward, and some of the stone chambers were directly omitted. Most of the treasure's value in the stone rooms in front of them was not very precious. It was better to go to more important places. When Bailey Hong Zhuang came to the front of a stone chamber, there were some doubts in her beautiful eyes. The door of this stone chamber seemed slightly different from the stone room door she had seen before. The thick little white door was a little bigger than the other stone doors. Even if she wanted to open it with a push, she found that the stone door could not be budged. Upon seeing this, Di Bei Chen's figure flashed forward, and a fist unhesitantly hit on the stone door. Boom! Debris fell to the ground, but the stone door had not moved at all. This stone chamber seems to be different. Di Bei Chen's handsome eyes slightly narrowed, and his line of sight solidified onto the stone door. Master, I feel that there are energy fluctuations here. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with exuberance, and he excitedly told this to Bailey Hong Zhuang. Listening to the words of Xiao Hei, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes also filled with a bright light. Until now, they had not had even a little harvest. Perhaps the stone chamber in front of them would yield something. What kind of energy fluctuations do you feel? Bailey Hong Zhuang asked as she searched for ways to open the stone door. Xiao Bai shook his head. I don't know. I can only affirm that the energy fluctuations in the stone chamber are very strong. There should be a treasure inside. Wifey, this stone chamber's door won't open. Presumably, it must be something good. Di Bei Chen's voice was a little dignified, and his eyes were constantly looking around the stone room. With his hunch, the value of the thing inside must be higher than the value of the things in the other stone rooms. Next, Di Bei Chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at each other and no longer hesitated. On both sides of the stone door, they looked for an organ. Bailey Hong Zhuang's hands touched the sides of the stone door, and the flat wall was exceptionally smooth, with no bumps. In this regard, Bailey Hong Zhuang did not find it unexpected. If there really was a treasure inside here, then this organ would not be so easy to find. Bailey Hong Zhuang tapped on the wall gently. Listening to any difference in the sound, the organ should be near the stone door, so they had to be very careful. They cannot let go of the slightest difference. The extraordinarily handsome face of Di Bei Chen was also filled with seriousness. His ear was close to the wall and listening carefully for any difference in the sound. Although it seemed simple, when facing such a large wall, it would require a great patience. Just as Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen continued to tap the wall and look for the organ, the sound of other cultivators' voices gradually came from behind. I didn't expect the trial in the first passage to be so strange. If I hadn't been too desperate, I wouldn't have ever hit the wall. There was such a thing. I have never really heard of it. There was no sound after you hit the wall, and I also tried it. I didn't expect to come out like this. The rest of the idiots don't know when they will come out. We both have a great chance now. The excitement of the two people could be clearly seen from the conversation between the two. In this moment of the expedition, having this opportunity was a pie from the sky. I'm going, I know. What will we do? Xiao Hei said silently. They had used knowledge to get through. It had not expected someone to get through in this sly, cat-caught dead mice way. Its eyes were a bit bright. This world is full of infinite possibilities. Even if we can't accept this, we have to. Xiao Bai shook his head slightly. If it were not for Master knowing the way to break through the illusion, they didn't know what they would be doing right now. Master, come on. Baisher's face was a bit worried. The two cultivators would arrive soon to where Master was, and they must speed up. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen increased their speed. They must open the stone door before other arrived, otherwise they would inevitably have to fight. Baisher also slammed the wall with its small claws, trying to help Bailey Hong Zhuang find the organ. Di Bei-chen noticed the movement of Baisher, and there was a strange emotion in his eyes. The nature of Beastmaster need not be explained. It was not a simple matter to ache the Beastmaster listen to them with such willingness. Judging from the current attitude of the Beastmaster, it was very good for Bailey Hong Zhuang. He did not have to worry about this. As the footsteps from behind were getting closer, the movement of Bailey Hong Zhuang was also getting faster. Hey, isn't that Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang? I didn't expect them to come out earlier than us. The two men in the rear came all the way forward, finally seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen. A light suddenly appeared in their eyes. The two of them had not had even a little bit of harvest so far, and maybe the two people, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen, had already put the treasures in their Chinquan bag. Fast! Catch up with them. The two men moved and rushed toward the place where the two people were. Time is too late. Bailey Hong Zhuang frowned. This organ was too well hidden. Despite looking for half an hour, they did not find anything. Sha! A subtle sound came out, and Bailey Hong Zhuang found that the stone door that had been closed suddenly opened in front of their eyes. Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang glanced at each other. The two of them had not found the organ. In the next moment, their eyes were locked onto Baisher. Chapter 524 Treasure. Yuanligua Baisher waved his two small claws and looked at the door. He then smugly looked at the two people. Seeing the place that Baisher was now pressing, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen were somewhat speechless. The way masters thought was really different from ordinary people. The mechanism was set at the height of Baisher. They would have had to get down on their knees to touch that place. This is really enough, Xiao He silently thought. However, this was understandable. The master had arranged the mechanism in a place that no one would have thought of. Rumble. The stone door opened suddenly, but because it had not been opened for many years when it was opened again, it made a loud noise and dust filled the air. The dust accumulated over hundreds of years could only be imagined, and it went into the eyes and mouth of Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang. The stone room door was opened. Quickly catch up with them. After the two cultivators saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen had opened the door to the stone room, the hearts of the two people were panicked. The treasures in the monument would surely not be bad. How could they let someone else grab it? But when they said this, it was already too late. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen rushed in the moment the stone room door opened. Baisher jumped onto Bailey Hong Zhuang's shoulder soon after. In the blink of an eye, the two people, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen, had disappeared before the two behind. As soon as they entered the stone room, Bailey Hong Zhuang was ready to close the door of the stone room. However, as soon as they walked into the chamber, the stone door automatically closed. When the two cultivators rushed up, the door of the stone chamber was closed, and their heads hit the stone door and their noses were flattened. Bang! The two men continuously pounded on the door, but the door did not open at all. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei-chen looked at the things in the stone room. In just a single look, both of them were stunned. In front of the two people were countless stars gleaming with a green light, floating in the stone room, translucent, very enticing. This, how is it possible? Bailey Hong Zhuang was shocked at the scene in front of her. The group of green-lit stars was floating in the stone room that was a few hundred square meters big. A closer look revealed that these green stars were wrapped in a green luminescence. They were the size of green apples, but they weren't a tangible entity, but balls of energy. Although well aware of ancient monuments, Bailey Hong Zhuang had to admit that this monument was indeed a big deal. Di Bei-chen's eyes locked onto these floating green fruits, his beautiful eyes full of shock. Can these be Yuanligua? Yuanligua was a condensed form of Yuanli. They were not real fruits, but instead made by the power of a cultivator. Yuanligua had a great effect on cultivators. If one were to absorb these Yuanligua, they would be able to improve their strength directly. However, Very few cultivators would use their own strength to create Yuan Ligua. Usually, only elders would create these in order to help the juniors improve their strength. However, there were so many Yuan Ligua in the stone room. For Bailey Hong Zhuang and Deep Bei Chun, this was tantamount to finding a big treasure. There are so many Yuan Ligua, our strength will be improved by a lot. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved in a shallow smile. Just these Yuan Ligua were enough to make this trip to the ancient ruin worth the risk. Chapter 5:25 Shock and sudden change. The extraordinarily handsome face had traces of evilness and a self-confident smile. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang next to him. These fruits will be very helpful for you. You should cultivate here first. I will see if there is any other way here to prevent others from entering. Yuan Ligua was a very special treasure that could not be given up on and could only be absorbed immediately. With the current strength of Bailey Hong Zhuang, tea was appropriate to absorb these fruits. He understood the cultivation talent of Bailey Hong Zhuang. It was not any weaker than any of those belonging to cultivation families, but she was a bit behind because of too much wasted time at the general's house. With the help of these Yuan Ligua, Bailey Hong Zhuang could quickly catch up and save herself a lot of trouble on her future path. Listening to Di Bei Chen's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang was a bit moved despite her initial surprise. If it was changed, the average person couldn't resist the temptation of these Yuan Ligua, and even lovers who would break up for these Yuan Ligua were definitely not in the minority. However, Di Bei Chen did not hesitate to choose to give her all these fruits. There's so many Yuan Ligua here, I can't absorb them all by myself. It is better for us both to cultivate here. Since these Yuan Ligua could not be taken away, they had no other way. The only way was to absorb it into their bodies at the fastest speed. After all, it was impossible for them to give up on such a treasure and leave. Well, you should cultivate first. I will keep watch at the stone door. Di Bei Chan nodded slightly, revealing a gentle smile to Bailey Hong Zhuang, and then studied the stone door. Beyond the stone door, the other two cultivators constantly bombarded the door. You open this stone door. Hey! The stone door was continued to be attacked, but, as always, it stayed strong. There were no signs of any cracks. This made Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chan feel a little more secure. Baisher grabbed a Yuan Ligua that had been floating in front of him and directly inserted it into his mouth. Feeling its body instantly filling with Yuan Li, Baisher couldn't help but lick his mouth, and little stars emerged in his eyes. The two paws were constantly waving, trying to catch more fruits. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were also holding a Yuan Ligua in their hands. This feeling was really cool. Master, there seems to be something in the rightmost wall, Xiao Bai warned. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly walked towards the place where Xiao Bai said. Xiao Bai and Xiao He were strong and powerful, and their perception was very sensitive. She believed that their judgment would not be wrong. When Bailey Hong Zhuang walked to the wall, she noticed that there was a slightly bulging position in the middle of the wall. A box made of black iron was placed in this groove, exuding a quaint atmosphere. After glimpsing at the box found by Bailey Hong Zhuang, Di Bei Chun was a little surprised and immediately came to Bailey Hong Zhuang. At the same time, Bailey Hong Zhuang was also taking the box out of the groove. However, just at the moment when Bailey Hong Zhuang took out the box, a change suddenly occurred. Chapter 5:26 Bad Situation and Forced Separation. Boom. A dull and loud voice sounded, and a stone gate suddenly appeared in between Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun, directly separating the two. After seeing this happen, Di Bei Chun rushed to where Bailey Hong Zhuang was quick. However, the stone gate fell faster and blocked the approaching Di Bei Chun. Di Bei Chen's face was quickly dyed with an expression of worry. Are you fine, Yangzi? Yangzi? No matter what, regardless of how Di Bei Chen shouted, he never got a response from Bailey Hong Zhuang. Damn! Di Bei Chen was full of anxiousness. The appearance of this stone gate was too unexpected, completely surpassing his expectations. The majestic Yuanli swept through deep Bei Chen's body and bombarded the stone gate. The thick stone gate, however, stayed strong like a steel cast. What is this stone gate? Although usually too lazy to care at this moment, it was inevitable to be filled with rage. If his wife was in any danger, then he would regret it to death. Di Bei Chun. Bailey Hong Zhuang shouted after being separated by the stone gate, but her shout did not receive any response. It seems that this stone gate can isolate any sounds. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. It should be like this. Even the stone door before was the same. In terms of the thickness of the stone door, it was no different than the stone doors they opened earlier, but if they wanted to, it was obviously impossible to smash it open. Xiao He and Xiao Bai quickly became bigger, and Baisher looked for mechanisms near the stone gate. They could not be trapped in here. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at the box in her hand, and then considered that they were safe. This all happened because she picked up the box and obviously touched some mechanism. However, it was strange as she did not see anything in the middle of the groove. Her line of sight fell onto the black iron box in her hand. Even after hundreds of years, the box was bright and looked new, and there was no sign of aging over the years. There was a curious light in her clear eyes. She was curious about what was in the box. A small lock sealed the box, and no matter how hard she tried, the black iron box could not be opened. Seeing this situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, she found a treasure, but it could not even be opened. The depression in her heart could be imagined. Master, we have searched thoroughly. There are no mechanisms in the vicinity. Xiao He was frustrated and rolled to the side of Bailey Hong Zhuang. What was with this monument? The current situation really made people speechless. Baisher was also somewhat helpless. This time he really couldn't find a mechanism. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. Looking at the helpless faces of the three little guys, she said, "Since the owner of this monument has trapped us in here, there must be a way out. It wouldn't be a big deal to spend more time in here." She believed that they were in no danger. The owner of this monument made such a huge monument because he, one, wanted to choose a qualified successor. Just as there are so many Yuan Ligua in this stone room, it could be seen that this was a gift from the Lord to the younger generation. It was absolutely impossible for him to leave so many Yuan Ligua to a dying person. Therefore, the stone room they were in must have a path, not a dead end. Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang was so confident, the three beasts were also somewhat confused, but they still believed in the words of their master. Chapter 5:27 Retreat. Strength is improved. There are so many Yuan Ligua here, as far I can see. We should first improve our strength here. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes were shining with wisdom and a firmness. Since these Yuan Ligua could not be taken away, it was better to absorb them here first. Currently, improving her strength was the most important thing. Previously, the owner of this body had not been cultivating for a long time, and it could be considered good enough for her to reach this current level. Only, when she was compared to people from cultivation powers, her strength would become her shortcoming. All along, Bailey Hong Zhuang's greatest pride had been her own strength. She was never arrogant about her own strength, but now she was being suppressed everywhere. Although she never said it out loud, only she was aware of her inner depression. Han Xiling was definitely not a fuel-efficient lamp. After this trip to the monument, the situation she would face later would become more and more sinister. Therefore, she must upgrade her strength as soon as possible. Now, these fruits were a good way for her to improve her strength as soon as possible. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, the three contractual beasts nodded together. The improvement of strength was indeed the most important thing now. Bailey Hong Zhuang steeled her heart, and grasping a Yuan Ligua floating in front of her, she swallowed it without hesitation. She was already on the verge of a breakthrough. It was just that the previous situation was not suitable for a breakthrough, so she had been suppressing it. It was rare to find such a peaceful environment. It was a good time to break through. Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang had directly begun by trying to break through, The three beasts were very diligently guarding the side of Bailey Hongzhuang, aware that the sudden appearance of other people would disturb Master's breakthrough. As time passed, the Yuan Ligua in the room gradually decreased. At the same time, as Bailey Hongzhuang cultivated, Baisher also took out the demonic core of the Qing Tianmo alligator, and sitting beside Bailey Hongzhuang, he also began breaking through. It has been a few days, and the Master and Baisher are still retreating. I don't know when they will wake up. It was really boring, alone in the room. The amount of Yuan Ligua left is not much. I believe that it will not take long for Master to break through. Xiao Bai helplessly looked towards the side at Bailey Hongzhuang. Master had maintained her current posture for a while. However, the speed of improvement of the Master's strength during this time is very amazing, haha. Saying this, Xiao He was suddenly excited again. The benefits of Yuan Ligua were really not exaggerated. With the help of so many Yuan Ligua, Master's strength had leveled up, ignoring the time required to do so by other cultivators, and with her pace, she would soon catch up to Ji Yuner and the others. They believed that since the Master had now retreated into a state of cultivation, her cultivation level that had lagged behind over the years would catch up. Boom! At the same time, Xiao He and Xiao Bai said these from around Bailey Hongzhuang broke out an amazing power in an instant, and the Yuan Ligua floating in the air were directed towards Bailey Hongzhuang under this coercion and flew over to her. Upon seeing this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai could not help but look at each other. The two beasts' eyes expressed their strong shock. There is such a large energy fluctuation, it is hard to achieve. Master is going to break through to the innate realm. As everyone knows, once the acquired realm was completed, only the innate realm, one, could be considered the real world of cultivation. However, before entering the innate realm, the speed of breakthroughs was the slowest, and it could often take as long as 10 years to enter the innate realm. Chapter 526, List of Chapters, Chapter 528, 1, Innate Realm. Previously termed by me as Congenital Realm, Chapter 475, the cultivation realms are briefly covered. However, one of my readers at Ava brought it to my attention that it doesn't really sound correct, so I changed it to Innate Realm, which actually does sound better. One more overview of cultivation system. Acquired Realm, previous TLs, Alisku, translation, Hotian boundary, Mysterious Earth Realm, Mysterious Aeon Realm, Mysterious Heaven Realm. Each of these further divided into early stage, intermediate stage, and late stage. Innate Realm, previously TL by me as Congenital Realm. Hong border, red, Chung border, orange, Huang border, yellow, Lu border, green, Lan border, blue, Z border, purple, each further divided into 9 levels, and yes, there are only 6 borders, not 7, confirmed on my reread. Astral Realm, LOL, too far to even think about, like Chapter 4000 plus or something. Bailey Hongzhuang's ring is actually Primordial Chaos Ring. I've been translating it as Chaos Ring. Cultivation techniques, Flow Merit Law, Worst, Star Merit Law, Moon Merit Law, Sun Merit Law, Best. BHZ cultivates the demon calling scriptures, which does not fall into any of the above, but is different altogether. There was something about the level of martial arts too, but I can't find it. Carrot. Chapter 528, Strange Yuan Ligua previously. Their master's breakthrough speed to the mysterious heaven realm intermediate stage was already very fast. They had not expected that with the help of these Yuan Ligua, she would immediately start to break through into the innate realm. If the news of this speed of cultivation were to spread, they were afraid that the number of people shocked will be beyond count. This trip to the ancient monument was really worth it. Master is so powerful. That Jiyuner is not the opponent of our master. She is a bit older and dares to boast of her cultivation level. Xiao Hei's brows rose and his eyes were full of pride. In the past, Jiyuner's strength had been stronger, and this had been extremely unfavorable to their master. They had not expected that their master would break through into the Hong border in such a short period of time. They wondered what kind of expression Jiyuner would make if she knew this. Why is it that all of the Yuan Ligua have been absorbed by master? but there is still one floating here. Xiao Bai's eyes fell onto the only floating Yuanli Gua in the stone room. The characteristics of this Yuanli Gua were too unusual. Listening to Xiao Bai's words, Xiao He also looked at the Yuanli Gua in the air, and his eyes were full of an expression of wrongness. It's hard to think. This one must have some hidden mystery to it. Xiao Bai and Xiao He looked at each other and saw the flashing interest in each other's eyes. In the next moment, the figures of the two fluff balls did not hesitate to shoot towards the one Yuanli Gua. However, the Yuanli Gua seemed to have spirituality and avoided the attack of the two fluff balls. Seeing this situation, the two fluff balls were sure that this Yuanli Gua was special. All the previous Yuanli Gua had been very easy to capture. Only this Yuanli Gua was slippery and could not be caught. If Master had not absorbed all of the Yuanli Gua, they would have not found this mysterious Yuanli Gua. The way to leave this stone room must be related to this Yuanli Gua. Xiao He said, his brain's hole getting wider. During the period of their master's retreat, they had searched every corner of the stone room, and there was no mechanism to be found. It seems that this Yuanli Gua, which was constantly running away, was likely the way to leave the stone room. When they thought of this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai were full of endless excitement. They didn't believe that with their power, this Yuanli Gua could not be captured. Then a chasing game broke out in the stone room. Two figures, one black and one white, were constantly chasing the green Yuanli Gua, and all three were lightning fast. In desperation, the two fluff balls found that the speed of this Yuanli Gua was beyond their expectations. Even if they chased it together, this Yuanli Gua had still had the capacity to escape. Xiao He and Xiao Bai were even angrier and immediately pounced towards the Yuanli Gua. This situation was really embarrassing for Xiao He and Xiao Bai, and if they really couldn't catch it, then they were both useless. When Bailey Hong Zhuang successfully broke through to the innate realm and opened her eyes, she saw two fluff balls lying on the ground panting, and they looked like they had had a big fight with others. There was a hint of sorrow in their eyes, and doubts emerged in Bailey Hong Zhuang's mind. There was no one in the stone room except her and the three beasts. What were the two little fluff balls doing? What happened to you two? Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but ask. Did the two fluff balls fight among themselves? That, Xiao He gasped and sat up, saying, Master, I'm exhausted. Xiao Bai's situation was also not good, but his eyes were flashing with excitement. Chapter 529 Treasure, Black Iron Box. What happened? Bailey Hong Zhuang felt that the current situation was a bit wrong. Nothing should have happened while she was cultivating. After Xiao Bai heard this, it came to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side and reached for the key. Master, this key is for you. Seeing the key in Xiao He's hand, the elegant and refined face was covered with an expression of shock. Where did you find this key? Just looking at it, Bailey Hong Zhuang could be certain that this key could open the black iron box, and in her heart, she grew confused. This key was in a Yuanli Gua. As Xiao Bai recounted what happened before, Bailey Hong Zhuang understood the events that transpired previously, and she became even more surprised. The thoughts of this ancient monument's owner were really different. It was really hard to notice a key in a Yuanli Gua. Together with the events that happened before, obviously, everything from the time she walked into this stone chamber and what happened next was played out in the hands of the ancient monument's owner. Everything she did was prearranged by the owner. Only after she absorbed all the Yuanli Gua would she discover the last odd one and get the key. Otherwise, she was afraid that she would not be able to find a way to leave the stone chamber. How long have I been cultivating? Bailey Hong Zhuang asked. To her, it seemed like a short time had passed to absorb all the Yuanli Gua. Master has been cultivating for half a month. Xiao He slowly said. During this half month, it was very boring only with Xiao He. It was almost like the long years in the Chaos Ring, with only they both together. Hearing the resentment in Xiao He's voice, Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips showed a smile. These two little guys had been trapped for too many years in the Chaos Ring. They feared loneliness the most. I don't know how Di Bei Chun is now, Bailey Hong Zhuang said out loud. She and Di Bei Chun had been suddenly separated. She believed that Di Bei Chen must be very worried about her. Half a month's time was not too short in the ancient monument. She didn't know what kind of situation they are in now. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes could not help but fall on the black iron box in her hands. She would like to see what was in it. Gotcha! With a subtle sound coming, Bailey Hong Zhuang successfully opened the black iron box in her hand. After seeing the contents of the box, Bailey Hong Zhuang's deep, watery, phoenix eyes could not help but reveal a stunned expression. In front of her eyes, she saw a long, crystal-clear sword quietly placed in the black iron box. The crystal-long sword was like an icy shard, and a cold chill effused from it, exquisite and unique, giving a sense of surprise. Although Bailey Hong Zhuang had seen many weapons, she still felt that this long sword was the most charming. Among all the swords that she had seen, this sword seemed the most compatible. With a slight movement, the tip of the sword reflected a cold light, and there was a hint of murderous aura to it, making people feel a little scared and loving it at the same time. Wow, Xiaohei exclaimed. This sword is so beautiful. It was also very knowledgeable. What kind of weapons had it not seen? But this crystal-clear weapon was really its the first time to see. On a closer look, there seems to be a faint line of red in the sword. It seems to be blood. Chapter 5:30 Treasure, Glass Sword. Listening to Xiaohei's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that there was a faint trace of bloody color on the crystal-clear sword. This bloody color was extremely light, and if they didn't look carefully, they couldn't find it. This sword should not be an ordinary kind. The light and sweet voice revealed a mix of emotions, and Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed at the sword in her hands. From her point of view, this sword was very special. Even if she quietly placed it back in the black iron box, she could still feel the fierceness and murderousness of the sword. Obviously, this was a sword that was contaminated with blood. Master, you should first put a drop of blood on it to make it acknowledge you as master, Xiaobai said. Once they walked out of the stone chamber, they don't know how many cultivators would hunger for the sword in master's hand. It was better to make it acknowledge her with blood first, and it won't be easy for others to take the sword away later. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly as she moved her gaze away from the sword. It was just that she had always lacked a hand-to-hand combat weapon. This sword appeared at just the right time. She believed that with this sword, her combat power would be improved again. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang no longer hesitated, directly cutting her finger and dripping blood on the sword. Blood dripped onto the blood, not immediately integrating into the blade, but a small trace appearing along the blade from the hilt to the tip of the sword, a long and thin line. With the influx of Bailey Hong Zhuang's spiritual power, the blood began to be slowly absorbed by the sword. As soon as the blood was absorbed, a bright white light appeared in the top of the sword, just like this radiant ancient monument. Then, Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that there were two characters appearing on the crystal body of the sword. The words gave a feeling of sharpness. Luli. Luli. Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed at the two characters. Obviously, the name of this sword was Luli. This sword is so magical, it is almost unreal. A strange light flashed in Xiaohei and Xiaobai's eyes after seeing this sword, with its appearance and its special characteristics. Congratulations to Master! However, listening to the congratulations of the two fluffballs, Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head. I just left a trace of my spirit on the glass sword and did not complete the acknowledgement. Why? Xiaohei and Xiaobai both widened their eyes and looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with doubt. Bailey Hong Zhuang's cinnabar lips curve in a helpless smile. There is a seal on the sword. It is not an easy task to crack this seal. With my current power, it is not possible to crack the seek. It is better to leave a trace of my spirit on it. Branding, after leaving the ancient monument, we will think of it again. Xiaobai and Xiaohei understood this. It seems that things were not as simple as they thought. But for any treasure of a good grade, it was not a small matter to make it acknowledge a master, let alone a sword as special as Luli. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly rose and looked at the door of the stone chamber in front of her. She had been trapped for the stone chamber for so long, it was time to go out. However, looking around, Bailey Hong Zhuang was surprised to find that on the right side of the stone room, she didn't know when, but a small door had appeared, and there was a simple lever next to the small door. With the idea of trying, Bailey Hong Zhuang turned the lever. Sha! A voice sounded, and then Bailey Hong Zhuang found that the stone door in front of her had suddenly opened. Chapter 5:31 Meeting Again. Not a single second was wasted to open the door. This was the inner thought of Bailey Hong Zhuang and the two contractual beasts. They'd had to look for the mechanism for such a long time before, but now it was so easy to open the stone door. Not long after Bailey Hong Zhuang came out of the stone door, a pleasant voice came. Hong Zhuang, you finally appeared. A voice so active and full of joy. Who could it be besides Xia Zhiqing? The next moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang was directly pulled into a bear hug. Hong Zhuang, I haven't seen you in the monument for such a long time. I thought you had an accident. Xia Zhiqing's eyes were full of care. You're fine? When she saw Xia Zhiqing, Bailey Hong Zhuang was very happy. She immediately shook her head and said, I am very good. I am relieved to see that you are also fine. She had previously seen Zhiqing and the others when they had been trapped in the illusion. She had been very worried in her heart. She did not expect that she would just walk out the stone door and see Xia Zhiqing appear in front of her innocently. And her heart was full of happiness. Then, Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes could not help but search for someone in the back. Previously, Di Bei Chun had been trapped in the stone room like her, and she didn't know if Di Bei Chun had come out. Wifey, are you looking for me? A low-pitched and enchanting voice sounded, revealing a bit of joy and sorrow, and Di Bei Chun looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with a smile. The dark and bright phoenix eyes showed a touch of joy, and Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips slowly curved. As long as Di Bei Chun was okay, she would be relieved. Hong Zhuang, how did you stay inside for so long? Xia Zhiqing could not help but ask. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled helplessly. I was trapped inside. I could not find a way outside for a while. I have only succeeded now. When she answered and looked at the situation around, she discovered that all cultivators were gathered here, but the environment in front of her was not of the one before she entered the stone chamber. This was another place. Why is everyone here? Bailey Hong Zhuang was a bit puzzled. It was a given since she was trapped in the stone room for so long. The treasures in the monument should have already been collected by everyone. Why were they gathered here now? Xia Zhiqing sighed. I have been here for 10 days. I heard everyone say that the door in front is the one to the main hall. The most valuable treasure is in the main hall, but this stone door is too strange, simply does not open. This is an ancient monument. Naturally, everyone is reluctant to leave before seeing the final inheritor, so everyone is gathered here, and you're the last one to come. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded, and only then did she understand the situation as her eyes fell in the huge stone doors in front. Compared to the huge stone deuce in front of her, the place she came from before was just a very small stone room. This stone door was painted with exquisite and complicated patterns. It was beautiful and stunning, and watching it would give people a sense of peace and calmness. At the same time, Gong Shaoqing and the others also walked to the side of Bailey Hong Zhuang, their familiar faces flashing with concern and happiness. Hong Zhuang, fortunately you're fine. Zhang Yinfeng smiled. Everyone was worried to death. Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that Zhang Yinfeng and Chao Huiyin were injured. What happened to you? Chapter 532, Could She Be Happier? Cui Haoyin smiled and waved his hand. It is just a little injury. It doesn't matter. Seeing that Cui Haoyin and Zhang Yunfeng's faces were normal, Bailey Hong Zhuang also nodded. From a doctor's point of view, both Cui Haoyin and Zhang Yunfeng's injuries were not serious. Bailey Hong Zhuang, you can rest assured that we are fine. His heart had never been calm in the time that Bailey Hong Zhuang had disappeared, and now a warm smile graced his face like a spring breeze. It was not until he saw Bailey Hong Zhuang that he felt relieved. 1. Fu Hongbo looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang, who had disappeared for half a month. He felt that the mental fortitude of Bailey Hong Zhuang seemed to have changed. Bailey Hong Zhuang, your power seems to have enhanced a lot. Fu Hongbo's eyes were full of surprise. He felt that the power of Bailey Hong Zhuang was much stronger than before, and it was no longer at the same level. Listening to Fu Hongbo's words, everyone looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with surprise. Lu Huayan's eyes flashed with disbelief. Bailey Hong Zhuang, your aura, did you break through to the innate realm? Hearing these words, Xia Zhiqing and the other people were instantly petrified, looking at Bailey Hong Zhuang in an odd way. Teacher, what kind of joke is this? They had not seen Bailey Hong Zhuang for only half a month. How could she have broken through to the innate realm? Seeing that the two teachers had discovered the change in her strength, Bailey Hong Zhuang also smiled and admitted to it. I just broke through to the first level of Hong border. Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang admit to it, Xia Zhiqing and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't believe that what they had heard was true. Bailey Hong Zhuang, what good opportunity did you encounter in the past few weeks? Xia Zhiqing could not help but ask. Such a quick upgrade in strength was really enviable. If you thought of the usual speed of cultivation, it would take at least 1 or 2 years to break through to the innate realm. Bailey Hong Zhuang did it in only half a month. How could they not envy? Although Zhang Yunfeng and the others did not say it directly like Xia Zhiqing, the envy in their eyes was very obvious. I was previously locked in a stone room. There were a lot of Yuanli Gua in the stone room. I couldn't find a way out. I could only stay inside and cultivate until I absorbed all of the Yuanli Gua, and only then did the stone room open. When the crowd came to understand the reason, their hearts only felt that the luck of Bailey Hong Zhuang was too good. Yuanli Gua was a rare treasure. Bailey Hong Zhuang was trapped in a place full of Yuanli Gua. Could she be happier? Why was it that stone chambers they saw before were all blank, or the things inside were damaged? And Bailey Hong Zhuang directly stumbled into a room full of Yuanli Gua, and the most important thing was that she was actually trapped inside. They had also tried to open the stone room, but they couldn't open it regardless of the method they used. It was equivalent to meaning that all of the Yuanli Gua in the room were destined for Bailey Hong Zhuang. After absorbing them all, the stone room will open. What good thing did Bailey Hong Zhuang do in her previous life? Such a good thing like Yuanli Gua fell like a pie from heaven right into Bailey Hong Zhuang's hands. Hong Zhuang, your luck is too good. Xia Zhiqing could not help but admire. I haven't had much gain from this ruin. I thought that ancient monuments are not as precious a treasure as everyone says. Now I see you, and I believe that the reputation of ancient monuments is well-deserved. Chapter 533 Depressed. Xia Zhiqing, Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips curved up in a shallow smile. She too felt that her harvest was not small. Her strength had improved, and it would be more convenient to do various other things in the future. After all, if strength was low, many things were not convenient to do. Cui Hao Yin and the others swallowed the envy and walked to the side. The luck of Bailey Hong Zhuang belonged to no one but her. Could they say that they were more worthy of the treasure than her? Bailey Hong Zhuang was very good, but right now the circumstances of each person were not the same. This time they came to the ancient ruins together, but the gap between them was already unmistakable. Dongfang Yu looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang with a more complicated look, and at the same time, there were other emotions in his eyes. When he first met Bailey Hong Zhuang, he did not feel there was any gap between them. He did not expect that Bailey Hong Zhuang would only stay at the Tsanglan College for a short while, and the gap between them would get bigger and bigger. Perhaps at first, he was deluded with infatuation, but now he really felt that Di Bei Chun was the perfect person for Bailey Hong Zhuang. In just 2.5 months, Bailey Hong Zhuang's strength had surpassed his, and Di Bei Chun was still waiting, standing in the same place as Bailey Hong Zhuang. T/N I have no freaking idea what he means. Zhiqing, you have been in the monument for half a month, Did you have any gains? Bailey Hong Zhuang's brows were furrowed. She was a little curious. She had been locked in the stone room since after they passed through the illusion, and SH did not know anything about what happened afterward. The happiest thing for her is that they had good luck. Although they were slightly injured, the problem was not serious, and she was relieved. Xia Jiqing shook her head and then sighed again. The weird road before, I was trapped for a long time there. If it wasn't by chance, I wouldn't have come out. I felt so powerless then. How powerful must be the method. We had been walking all that while, and it felt so real. After I came out, many other cultivators had also already come out. I just came, but it turned out that I came out late, and the treasures were already taken away by the others, and I couldn't get anything. Xia Jiqing shrugged. The only thing I'm thankful for is that I haven't thrown away my life here. Hong Zhuang, how did you break free from that illusion? That was just a fantasy one. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and explained, I came out very early, but I was locked inside as soon as I walked into the stone room. Fantasy. Xia Jiqing raised her voice and thought about it, thinking that the name was very fitting for what she had seen before. Yes, it was a fantasy. I listened to the Yin Jia's cultivators, and they aid that you and Di Bei-chan were the first to come out. They want to catch up with the of you, but they could not. Xia Jiqing grinned. In my opinion, the cultivators of these families are not as powerful as rumored to be. Listening to these words, Bailey Hong Zhuang immediately understood what Xia Jiqing meant, but she thought of Di Bei-chan. The heritage of a cultivation family is deep. We have come in contact with nothing but the tip of the iceberg. Bailey Hong Zhuang reminded. She knows that Xia Jiqing had always been very loyal to her, but she does not want Xia Jiqing to offend some powerful opponents because of her. Hearing the hidden meaning in the words of Bailey Hong Zhuang, Xia Jiqing's face also became serious. She understood that Bailey Hong Zhuang was her true friend, and so this reminder was because she cared for her. Chapter 534, Blaming Himself. Di Bei-chun, her beautiful and exquisite face, showed a faint smile. Xia Jiqing held Bailey Hong Zhuang's hands and seriously said, Hong Zhuang, what you mean I understand. You can rest assured, I will not take the initiative to offend them. Seeing that Xia Jiqing knew what she meant, Bailey Hong Zhuang also showed a gentle smile. That's good. In our current situation, we should not have many entanglements with them after all this. In her dark, phoenix eyes, a touch of solitude and firmness spread quietly. Now, they don't have many encounters, but perhaps in the future, they won't be less. The Lan family, this mysterious and powerful family, she believed they would meet them soon. Hong Zhuang, during this time when you were locked in the stone room, Di Bei-chun was worried about you. When we came here, we saw Di Bei-chun standing right outside this door. When there was the slightest movement, he would look there. Han Qiling also questioned him, but Di Bei-chun apparently had all his thoughts on your well-being, and he did not bother much with her. Xia Jiqing winked towards Bailey Hong Zhuang, a trace of a smile on her face, making her feel a bit awkward for a second. I say that Di Bei-chun is a good man, worth spending your life with. My eyes are still not bad. With the current expression of Xia Jiqing, Bailey Hong Zhuang was also somewhat helpless. This man was really a living treasure. You haven't seen each other for more than half a month. There must be a lot to say. I won't bother you now. Her voice falling, Xia Jiqing snickered and walked to the other side, despite Bailey Hong Zhuang's look. She had been here with Hong Zhuang for so long. She thought that Di Bei-chun must long have been unable to hold it in. After Xia Jiqing left, Di Bei-chun slowly walked to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side. Nyangzi, were you okay during this time in the stone chamber? The deep-as-sea eyes were filled with very complex expressions, full of concern, distress, and guilt. As early as before entering the monument, he had promised to take care of Bailey Hong Zhuang and never thought that he would make such a mistake. During this time, he had already drowned in guilt countless times, regretted it countless times. If his wife was in danger, he would hate himself. Do you think I was okay in the stone room? Bailey Hong Zhuang chuckled. But as soon as she looked up, She was looking into a pair of deep eyes full of embarrassment and pain. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but pause. She was only making a joke with Di Bei-chun, and she never thought that Di Bei-chun would reveal an expression like this. Nyangzi, I am sorry. Di Bei-chun's voice was low and hoarse. I didn't take care of you. Hearing the deep self-blame in Di Bei-chun's words, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not help but say, I was very good inside. What happened, it was also part of increasing my strength. You shouldn't feel sadness. Seeing that Di Bei-chun looked so serious, even though it was a joke, Bailey Hong Zhuang felt a bit worried. Anything can happen in an ancient monument. You have looked after me well. Not to mention my good luck, this was also a chance for me. It is naturally excellent since wifey came out safe and sound. Di Bei-chun saw the look on Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes, and his heart softened, and in his heart he felt more fortunate. Fortunately, his wife was safe and sound. Otherwise, he really did not know what he would do. He knew very well that his wife had come out safely this time. It was good luck, but it was undeniable that he did not take care of her. Chapter 535 Exact same situation. If he had been careful, Bailey Hong Zhuang would not have disappeared from his sights. Anything could happen in an ancient monument, and even some cruel and terrible things were not uncommon. This time he was panicked. He had already sworn a vow that he would never let such a thing happen again. Seeing Di Bei-chun's face, she looked at him a few moments more, before Bailey Hong Zhuang finally put down her heart. She didn't want Di Bei-chun to blame himself because of this incident. Perhaps the master of the monument had already thought of this and attempted to do such a thing when he designed that mechanism in the stone room. How could they have anticipated it since earlier? How were you in the stone room? Her dark, bright eyes revealed care, and Bailey Hong Zhuang asked in a soft voice. When she was trapped in the stone room, she was very much worried about Di Bei-chun's situation too. When she saw Di Bei-chun, she had already given him a once-over. Fortunately, nothing dangerous had happened to Di Bei-chun, and she was relieved. After the sudden appearance of the stone gate that separated you and me, I found that there was no more sound in the stone room, and even the voices of the two cultivators who had kept yelling outside the stone room's door had disappeared. I thought that you were caught in a dangerous situation, but after seeing that the stone room was quiet, I felt a little relieved, but I'd still not found a way to leave the stone tomb. I could only absorb all of the Yuanli gup in the room and finally find the Yuanli guo with a key in it. Speaking of this, Di Bei-chun's eyes suddenly brightened. I found a box made of black iron in the stone room. Was there a sword in the box? The more Bailey Hong Zhuang heard Di Bei-chun talk, the more she was sure that his situation before had been exactly like hers. The things in the stone room were split in two, and the sudden appearance of the stone gate was only to separate her from Di Bei-chun. This must have been designated by the master of the ancient monument. Therefore, it was not that Di Bei-chun did not take care of her, but that the master of the monument had already made up their mind to separate them. Even if Di Bei-chun was right by her side, the monument's master must have some other way to separate them. When he heard Bailey Hong Zhuang's question, Di Bei-chun's eyes flashed with a touch of surprise. He asked, "How do you know?" Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled, and the beautiful and enchanting smile bloomed on her delicate face, pleasing to the eyes. It was unforgettable, because I encountered the exact same situation in the stone room as you. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled lightly. The same. Di Bei-chun was stunned, and he couldn't help but think of the box he had seen Bailey Hong Zhuang take before he and she were separated. So, isn't it? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and nodded. Yes, this should have been deliberately planned by the monument's master. The things in the stone room were divided into two. After hearing this, Di Bei-chun's brow wrinkled, and his handsome face was full of thoughtfulness. So, why did the Lord want to do this? Seeing the current situation, the two of them had a big gain. Even if other cultivators also have a lot of gains, there is still a big gap between their harvest. Bailey Hong Zhuang shrugged. I don't know, but I think that the master of this monument must have some deep thoughts, and we just haven't found it yet. Chapter 536 is not simple. Hong Zhuang. While Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen's thoughts were on the deep meaning that the arrangement of the ancient monument's owner may have, the eyes of other people could not help but fall on them. In the short period of half a month, Bailey Hong Zhuang broke through to the first step of the Hong border. Yanling Xian was in disbelief. This progress was too great. He thought that breaking through from the intermediate stage, mysterious heaven realm, to the first level of the Hong border took a long time. It seems that Bailey Hong Zhuang chanced upon a great opportunity in the monument, so she could directly break through from the acquired realm to the innate realm. Huang Fu Hui said faintly and with sorrow, it seems that their luck was not as good as Bailey Hong Zhuang's. If this opportunity had befallen him, his strength would have been improved again, going beyond Yanling Xuang and the others. Lin Yirou's pretty face was also filled with emotions, even though she had never talked to Bailey Hong Zhuang before. It now seemed that Bailey Hong Zhuang was not as simple as she imagined. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen were the first to pass through the illusion. Just from this point, the strength cannot be underestimated. It can only be said that we were too slow in breaking the illusion. Yanling Xian frowned. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen were together. Why do you think that it is Bailey Hong Zhuang who should not be underestimated? Maybe it was because of the merits of Di Beichen that they were able to walk out of the illusion. Thinking of Di Beichen's strength, they were all convinced of it. After all, Di Beichen was famous since before and was well known among the young cultivators in the Shangxian continent. They also admired him. It was normal if they were defeated by the hands of Di Beichen. This was difficult for them to accept, but if they say that they had lost to some unknown person, they felt it unacceptable. Lin Yirou's eyebrows rose slightly, and the calm and quiet face was full of a deep smile. Looking at Lin Yirou's expression, Yanling Xian confirmed that Lin Yirou knew something that he did not know. He couldn't help but ask, Lin Yirou, if you know something, don't hide, just tell me. Miss Lin, you know it would be better to say it. Let us also analyze it. Huang Fu Hui was also attracted. Lin Yirou looked at the curious expression of Yanling Xian and Huang Fu Hui, and the curve of her lips rose slightly. Before hearing the cultivators of the family talk about the illusion, did you know that the situation we encountered before was a fantasy? Yanling Xian and Huang Fu Hui looked at each other. At first glance at each other, they shook their head. I didn't know. That's exactly it. What do you mean? Yanling Xian frowned. Why did he not understand the meaning of the words Lin Yirou said? I heard the conversation between Han Xiling and Di Beichen, and Di Beichen said that the situation they had seen before was an illusion. She didn't know it. He told her what it was. This proves that Bailey Hong Zhuang knew it from before. The things she knows are no less than what we know. Perhaps it is even more than us. With the voice of Lin Yirou falling, the faces of Yanling Xian and Huang Fu Hui also became dignified. So it seems that the secrets Bailey Hong Zhuang held were really a lot. As a child of a cultivation family, they know a lot of things, but for this illusion, it was really the first time they saw it, and it was their first time even hearing of it. Perhaps Bailey Hong Zhuang happens to know just this special thing. Yanling Xian said slowly. Lin Yirou chuckled softly. The cultivators of the families do not know it was an illusion, they just thought that they were in a fantasy. Chapter 537 Hate. Han Xiling, as soon as she said this, Yanling Xian and Huang Fu Hui's expressions suddenly changed. They thought that the word illusion was spread after the two cultivators of the families judged it. It could be seen from Lin Yirou's meaning that the first person who discovered the illusion was Bailey Hong Zhuang. Then, according to your words, Di Beichen and Bailey Hong Zhuang could get out of the illusion first. It was because of Bailey Hong Zhuang? Yanling Xian's eyes revealed his incredulity. This was impossible. How could the young miss of a general's family know so many things? Otherwise, who is it? Lin Yirou asked. With your intelligence, you should not deceive yourself. Yanling Xian looked slightly different. As Linny Rose said, they could have such a status in their families, they won't be fools. There is absolutely no need to deceive themselves. It was most important to recognize reality. Nowadays, everything was made excitable by Bailey Hong Zhuang. Plus, with the acupuncture technique displayed by Bailey Hong Zhuang before, it could be seen that she was not an easy character. Huang Fu Hui looked blankly, then shook his head. I said that the woman that Di Bei Chan likes must definitely not be a normal person. Now it seems that what I thought was really right. Ji Yin'er also heard the conversation between Lin Yi-ro and the others, but now she had no room for any words. Although he did not believe that Bailey Hong Zhuang could be so powerful, Bailey Hong Zhuang had saved her life before. If she were to fight with Bailey Hong Zhuang, there was no doubt that everyone would think of her as a villain who was just envious. Since this was the case, Ji Yin'er was unwilling. After all, this time she really had lost too much of face. Lin Yi-ro and Huang Fu Hui were still slightly better, but Yin Lingxian was definitely a guy who does not mind revealing hidden matters. She believed that at the end of this expedition to the ancient monument, Yin Lingxian would definitely spread rumors of her and the things which happened here. At this time, she felt a big headache coming as she thought about how to deal with this problem. Han Shiling's face was leisurely and indifferent, and she always had a light attitude towards Lin Yi-ro's conversation and seemed to never put it in her heart. However, as long as anyone looked carefully at Han Shiling at this moment, they would find that her hands were tightly clutching her clothes, and the pair of autumn-spring-like watery eyes were filled with unsettled emotions. Di Bei Chun had not rested for 3 days and 3 nights because of fear that Bailey Hong Zhuang had met with some mishap. His eyes were always locked onto the stone door. Even if she talked to Di Bei Chun, he either answered coldly or faintly, as if he had lost his heart. This was the first time she had seen Di Dage so worried about a person. In the past, apart from the sovereign, Di Dage had the same attitude towards all others. He would be unfeeling, unbothered. She knew this because Di Bei Chun did not care about other people at all, and she had been trying to become the person that Di Bei Chun cares about, but she had not succeeded. Instead, she found another woman who could make Di Bei Chun reveal such a panicked expression. When she thought of Di Dage's expression at that time, she felt that someone had stabbed a knife into her heart and could not breathe her. Now, she was hearing how good Bailey Hong Zhuang was, how she was not simple, her mood could be imagined. She didn't believe that Bailey Hong Zhuang was anything special. She was just a normal young miss from a general's family. Di Dage must have been blinded by lard to see her. Chapter 538 High-Profile Love Show. Han Shiling mocked in her heart. Lin Yi-ro and the others thought that they were smart, but they were actually just a bunch of fools. Completely ignorant of the prestige of Di Dage, they only felt it was impossible to like an ordinary woman with Di Bei Chen's abilities, so they looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang so highly. In fact, the situation of Di Dage in the past 3 years was clear to her. She could almost imagine what kind of dog blood feelings were between Di Dage and Bailey Hong Zhuang. Di Dage was nothing more than a little depressed after his injury, and Bailey Hong Zhuang just happened to be with him. With her position, she naturally had to stay at Tiangang Zone to cultivate. She couldn't stay by Di Dage's site in Fengbo country, and Bailey Hong Zhuang had just taken advantage of the separated days between her and Di Dage. He was hers, and she will never allow others to steal her things. Thinking of this, Han Shiling did not hesitate and walked to the side of Di Bei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. Her pretty, refined face was like an elegant lotus and with a pleasant smile. Han Shiling revealed an expression of concern over Di Bei Chen's pallor. Di Dage, these days you have not had a good rest. It is better to eat something than get a good rest. Di Bei Chen looked at the food handed over by Han Shiling, looking at Han Shiling with indifference, and said, "Shiling, you can eat it yourself. I have food prepared here." Hearing this, Han Shiling's expression became stiff. The smile on her pretty face was a bit unnatural, but she quickly disguised her look. "Di Dage, these are what you would like to eat at the sect. You can eat it." Seeing that Han Shiling was so insistent, Di Bei Chun took it and said, "Shiling, thank you." The curve of Han Shiling's lips became slightly wider. However, it was not until Han Shiling's smile had completely bloomed when Di Bei-chen's words made her smile freeze on her lips. Nyangzi, these are special snacks from Tiangang Zone. How about you taste it? Di Bei-chen looked at his side to Bailey Hong Zhuang, the incomparable handsome face with a gentle and caring smile. Obviously, in his eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang was the most beautiful. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at Di Bei-chen a little strangely. She didn't know if Di Bei-chen was doing this deliberately, but such an attitude would obviously make Han Shiling extremely uncomfortable. It's hard to think. Was it necessary to let Han Shiling see such a show? For a moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang also had the thought that Di Bei-chen was really evil, but since Di Bei-chen had done this, she would also take advantage of it. Okay, let me try it. Bailey Hong Zhuang smirked before smiling, taking a piece and putting it in her mouth. This taste, Bailey Hong Zhuang's mood instantly brightened. This Tiangang Zone was not only strong, but even the taste of their food was very good. As the master of an aristocratic family, she used to have a lot of good things, but after crossing over, she did not live as luxuriously as before. In order to improve her strength as soon as possible, she put all her energy into cultivation, and she did not care much about food. Yes, very delicious. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. Looking at the cute and playful look of Bailey Hong Zhuang, the expression of care in Di Bei-chen's eyes also deepened. If you like it, I will take you to Tiangang Zone to taste more of these snacks in the future. Han Shiling had already been annoyed, but when she heard Di Bei-chen say this, she really couldn't believe it. How could her glorious Di Dage become like this? Chapter 539, Can It Be More Exaggerated? Not only Han Shiling, but on the other side, all the others, and even Ji Yuner were looking at the interaction between Di Bei-chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang with an unbelievable look. Oh my god, did they hear it wrong? The Di Bei-chen, who had always been so cold usually, was now so gently feeding Bailey Hong Zhuang? Can this be more exaggerated? With what happened this time, they were having doubts whether this man in front of them was the same as before. Now it's over. Di Bei-chen really fell in love this time. In front of everyone's faces, he is caring for Bailey Hong Zhuang. It is absolutely true love. Yan Lingxian felt a bit emotional, but his smile was proud. Since Di Bei-chen was so true to Bailey Hong Zhuang, there should be no possibility between him and Han Shiling. So, was there still a chance for him? How could Di Gongzi become like this? Ji Yuner's slender eyebrows were knotted. This was really unbelievable. In the past, she felt that Di Bei-chen treated everyone with a cold temperament. Only Han Shiling was different. It seemed now that although Di Bei-chen really was different toward Han Shiling, it was still completely different from his treatment of Bailey Hong Zhuang. Was it really like everyone said, that people will become different once they meet someone they really like? Take this show of love. Han Shiling, Xiao laughed proudly. He looked at Di Bei-chen, feeling that the more he looked, the more handsome he became. Yes, die of jealousy in madness. This man can only be master's man, and others are like playthings. Xiao Hei said even more happily. Di Bei-chen's performance made them sure that they had not read this person wrongly. Otherwise, these young masters would really give him a good meal. Baisher had now returned to the Chaos Ring. The energy in the demonic core of the Qing Tian Mo alligator was very filling, and Baisher had also consumed a certain amount of Yuan Ligua. There was no problem with having a breakthrough. Han Shiling was stiff and looked at the two speaking sweetly to each other. After a moment of anxiety, her face flashed with a light expression. Bailey Hong Zhuang faintly looked at Han Shiling. She had to say that this Han Shiling's camouflage ability was indeed good. If it were changed to an ordinary woman, they couldn't help but worry about it after seeing situations like this. Han Shiling could still pretend that the thing had never happened. This alone proved her to be stronger than a lot of women. Looking at her posture, it was clear that Han Shiling was preparing to end any third party, and there were no plans of leaving. I'll go see what's wrong with the closed stone door. You haven't had a good rest these few days. Take a break for a while. Bailey Hong Zhuang said with care. Iyushi had heard from Ji Qing that Di Bei-chun had not rested for a few days because he was worried about her safety. Di Bei-chun must have been very hurried in the stone chamber too. Otherwise, he could not have absorbed all the energy in the Yuan Ligua and leave the stone room in such a short period of time. Hearing these words, Di Bei-chun looked deeply at Bailey Hong Zhuang and saw that she was not the least bit unhappy. Instead, she was worried about his appearance, and he finally let go of the worry in his heart. You be careful. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly and chuckled. Okay. Chapter 540 Bailey Gunyong, Become Friends? Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang had left, Han Qiling couldn't help but stare at Bailey Hong Zhuang's figure. An indescribable resentment accumulated in her heart. Han Qiling had always been proud, and she had always been a star among the many talented cultivators. She never felt she would lose to anyone. However, in terms of feelings, she lost to such an empty vase-like woman. Well, it will not be long before Bailey Hong Zhuang disappears from in front of my eyes. Han Qiling comforted herself. There were too many people here now. She could not ruin her image. A small country's general's miss, if she wanted to kill her, her means were very good. Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly walked in front of the closed doors, everyone's eyes on her. Many cultivators had gathered in front of the stone door and constantly exploring to find ways to open the stone door. More cultivators were sitting around the stone door lazily. During this time, they had seen every part of the stone door, but they had not found any organ. Not only that, but they also joined forces to attack the stone door, but the stone door was harder than they thought. No matter what they did, this stone door did not open. Seeing Bailey Hong Zhuang appear, the cultivators of Jijia could not help but open up a position for her. After all, previously Bailey Hong Zhuang had saved Ji Yuner, and she had been kind to them. The disciples of Tian Gang Zong also let a position open, although they followed Han Qiling. The status of Di Bei-chun's wife was not simple. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at the stone door in front of her. This stone door was the same as the one they had encountered previously in the monument. Apart from the slight difference in height, there was no difference between the two. In addition, the master's way of thinking was not the same as other people. She had to think in a place where other people hadn't, and it would only then be possible to find a way to open the stone door. Just as Bailey Hong Zhuang was looking at the organ in the stone door, Lin Yiro, don't know when had walked up to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side. Bailey Gunyong, I am Lin Yiro. Lin Yiro said softly and courteously. Hearing this, Bailey Hong Zhuang slowly turned and looked at Lin Yiro. Hello, Lin Gunyong. For Lin Yiro, her impression was quite profound, although Lin Yiro did not show much, nor had she ever had an exchange with her. But from some of the things happening later, she was able to judge that Lin Yiro was a very intelligent woman. If she was not smart, she would not be able to gain her stats in the family with her gentle and soft appearance. On the contrary, it seemed absolutely possible that there would be many people bullying her. I admire Bailey Gunyong's abilities very much. I wonder if I can become friends with you? Lin Yiro said softly. The gentle and modest appearance was comforting and relaxed, and there was no reason to refuse. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips curved in a slight smile. The look in her eyes did not change as she exchanged words with Lin Yiro. She said lightly, Of course, it is my pleasure to be friends with Lin Gunyong. Although she used the same word friends, whereas Xia Jiqing was a true friend, this Lin Yiro was nothing but here for the benefits. If she guessed it well, Lin Yiro's relationship with Han Qiling should not be good, so she would come to her to be friends. Seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang had so easily agreed, Lin Yiro was also a little surprised, originally worried that Bailey Hong Zhuang's temperament would be very difficult to get along with. It now seemed she was just thinking too much. Empty vase-like woman, a woman who only looks beautiful, but has no substance whatsoever. HXL is calling BHZ substanceless. Gunyong means girl, young woman, young lady, daughter, paternal and old. For this, should I translate this as Gunyong or change it to Miss, from the form of address Bailey Gunyong to Miss Bailey? However, this term is used later by a lot of elders who are referring to BHZ as Bailey Girl, and it will be awkward to use the word Miss there because an elder would not refer to her as Miss, especially if it's someone close like a teacher, or use the term girl and Miss according to who is speaking. Chapter 541 Reminder. Lin E. Rowe. Since Miss Bailey has become my friend, then I would like to advise you. I hope you will not blame me for saying more than I should. Lin E. Rowe said. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. Please say. Since it is a kind reminder. How can I think so? Han Xiling does not have such a gentle temper since Miss Bailey is together with Di Gongzi. Then you have to be careful of Han Xiling. You can't be the least bit careless. Lin E. Rowe lowered her voice and said it in a low tone that only she and Bailey Hong Zhuang could hear. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyebrows slowly rose. It seemed that her guess was correct. Lin E. Rowe must have some enmity with Han Xiling that others did not know. However, there was nothing wrong with what Lin E. Rowe had said. Han Xiling was definitely not a fuel-efficient lamp. The reason why Han Xiling had always been pretending to be gentle and had never done anything to her was that she was smart and did not want to show her bad side in front of Di Beichun. Once this expedition to the ancient monument was over, Han Xiling would definitely take action, and her troubles would start. However, trouble was also a driving force for progress. If Han Xiling sent trouble to her, then she would also regard them as honing stones, and to hone her own strength, it was a good choice. Thank you, Miss Lin, for reminding me. I will be more careful. Her beautiful face that could ruin cities had a gentle smile, and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked light and serious. Since Lin E. Rowe had given her a kind reminder, she would also accept Lin E. Rowe's feelings. Because there was no conflict of interest between the two of them, she believed that Lin E. Rowe would not harm her. After all, the enemy of your enemy was a friend, and their common opponent was Han Xiling. Yin Ling Xian and the others saw that Lin E. Rowe suddenly started a whisper conversation with Bailey Hong Zhuang, and there was a look of surprise on their faces. Lin E. Rowe's performance had been very different from usual this time. They didn't know why this was. After warning Bailey Hong Zhuang about Han Xiling, she stopped talking and went back to where she was before. The ability to have a conversation with Bailey Hong Zhuang was enough to make their relation closer, but it was not enough. However, for now, it was a good choice to have made good relations. Xia Zhiqing could not help but walk to Bailey Hong Zhuang's side and ask, Hong Zhuang, what did Lin E. Rowe say to you just now? When these words were said, Xia Zhiqing felt that she seemed like a busybody and could not help but explain, I just think that these families are not good news, so for what I asked, if it is not convenient for you, don't answer. Looking at Xia Zhiqing, who was rushing in panic, Bailey Hong Zhuang couldn't help but chuckle. Zhiqing, I know your thoughts. You don't have to explain. Xia Zhiqing still had some concerns, but after seeing that Bailey Hong Zhuang's look was not fake, only then she was relieved. Well, I was afraid that you misunderstood me. With the relationship between us two, how could I misunderstand you? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled and patted Xia Zhiqing's shoulder. It was clear Zhiqing had no scheming thoughts. Lin E. Rowe just reminded me some things, and she had no other intention, don't worry. Hearing this, Xia Zhiqing was relieved. As long as you were fine, I was just worried that Lin E. Rowe harbored malicious intentions. Chapter 542 Stone Door. Two grooves. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips had a warm smile. You understand what I mean. Hong Zhuang, you're much smarter than me. I believe you must understand things more than I. Xia Zhiqing smiled and looked at her with eyes filled with a little bit of embarrassment. She was so concerned about trouble, she forgot Bailey Hong Zhuang's smarts and wisdom. Seeing the situation, Bailey Hong Zhuang's smile also became wider by a bit. It was a great gain to come to the Tsanglan College and to know such a friend like Xia Zhiqing. Bailey Hong Zhuang knocked on the closed stone room door and listened for any difference in sound. Hong Zhuang, no need to knock. In the past 10 days, everyone has almost checked every trace of the stone door in this place. Even the door was not let go, and mechanisms have been found. Xia Zhiqing shrugged. During this time, so many people had already used the methods that they can think of, but there were still no gains. Hearing these words, Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded. Everyone stayed here for so long, and they had tried everything. So, what else could it be that everyone missed? The pools in her phoenix eyes were shimmering with wise thoughts, and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at every part of the stone door. Since the stone door was closed, there must be a way to open it, but everyone had not noticed it all this while. I really admire the thoughts of this monument's master. This mechanism is so hidden, so many people can't find it. Xia Zhiqing's face was full of helplessness. Whether it had been the previous illusions or the stone door in front of her, it really made her admire this monument's master. It was too weak facing this ancient monument with her IQ and ability. At this moment, Bai Junyu had walked to Xia Zhiqing's side. The monument's masters are well-deserved, strong tyrants. Their thoughts are naturally not so easy to guess. It is normal for us to take some time to find it. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at Bai Junyu, who was standing behind Xia Zhiqing and looking at her. The smile deep in her eyes became a little brighter. After half a month, she felt that the relationship between Bai Junyu and Zhiqing was quite close. Bailey Hong Zhuang, you just came out of the stone door. Don't you need to rest for a while? Bai Junyu asked. Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head slightly. No, I've been cultivating in the stone room. I'm not tired at all. In fact, for half a month, she had only stayed in the same position. Her body had become a bit stiff. She only wanted to be active right now. Suddenly, Bailey Hong Zhuang's gaze fell on the doorknob of the stone door. Under the two rings, there were two grooves with similar circular shapes. What is this? Bailey Hong Zhuang frowned. Bai Junyu glanced at the thing pointed by Bailey Hong Zhuang and smiled, saying, "This is just a decoration. It has no effect. Everyone has already studied it." Xia Zhiqing also nodded slightly. This similar circular groove was inscribed with patterns. There was no use besides decoration. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang's gaze was firmly solidified on the two grooves, because she thought that the patterns on these two grooves were somewhat familiar. Exactly where had she seen this pattern? Bailey Hong Zhuang constantly thought in her mind. She did not see many things in the ancient monument. The next moment, Bailey Hong Zhuang had a revelation, and she already had an idea in her mind. Chapter 543 is of great significance. Deep Bei Chun, Master, did you think of something? Seeing the change of expression on Bailey Hong Zhuang's face, Xiao He couldn't help but ask. He had stayed with Master for so long. He also had a certain understanding of the changes in Master's demeanors. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes held a trace of appreciation for Xiao He, but her thin lips were slightly pressed together. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, do you think that the shape of the grove and the hilt of the glass sword, Luli, may have some similarities? Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Xiao He and Xiao Bai couldn't help thinking about the appearance of Luli in their mind. With this thought, the eyes of both the fluff balls were gleaming brightly. It is very similar, Xiao He said excitedly. Master, I will confirm it in the chaos ring. They only noticed the blade of the glass sword. They didn't pay much attention to the hilt, but they felt it was very similar. Was it still necessary to confirm it? Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. All right, tell me after confirming the result. Next, Bailey Hong Zhuang faked brushing her hair and putting the black bead from her hair into the Cosmos bag. Noticing that no one was paying attention, she directly put it into the Chaos Ring. Since there was storage space in the Chaos Ring, she put all important things into the Chaos Ring. After all, a Cosmos bag had the possibility of being robbed, but the Chaos Ring did not. After she got the glass sword, she put Luli directly into the Chaos Ring. So now she needed Xiao He's help to help her confirm. After Xiao He entered the Chaos Ring, he did not delay. He immediately found Luli. After careful comparison, Xiao He's face showed a smug expression. Master, you were right. The groove is exactly the same as the hilt of the glass sword. She got Xiao Hei's answer, and the smile on Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips was a little more confident. So, these two grooves must be correspondingly for the sword she and Di Bei Chun had found. However, with the wisdom and genius of Di Bei Chun, it was wrong that he had not found this out. Ji Qing, did Di Bei Chun look for the mechanism on this stone door these days? Bailey Hong Zhuang asked. Xia Ji Qing shook her head. I didn't see him coming to the stone door. In the past few days, Di Bei Chun has always been worried about your safety. He did not pay attention to other things. He didn't even glance at the stone door. Bai Junyu's face was full of emotion. This made them deeply aware of Di Bei Chen's feelings for Bailey Hong Zhuang. They were really an enviable pair. Turns out so. Bailey Hong Zhuang was stunned. She thought that it was impossible for Di Bei Chun to not find this out with his wisdom and talent. But it turned out that he had never noticed these past few days. Even when she thought of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's heart was also touched. Most of the top talented cultivators in Shangxian continent put their strength for getting a more important position. Di Bei Chun had not much interest in the treasures of the monument, and he only cared for her. As soon as she thought that Di Bei Chun had not rested for several days, Bailey Hong Zhuang decided to not tell him this news. After Di Bei Chun had had a good rest and adjusted his conditions, she would tell him her discovery. What is the meaning of this arrangement by the monument's master? Bailey Hong Zhuang still had many doubts. Whether it was the previous stone room or the current situation, obviously, the owner of the monument had deliberately arranged for two people to join to open the stone door. Chapter 544 is not worthy, not what you said. From the exact same opportunity in the stone room to the time when the two people would have to come together to open the stone door, is it true that the inheritance of the monument would be handed over to two people? Or this inheritance would choose one of the two? If it was the first one, it was naturally excellent. But if it was the second, the situation may become cruel. For the time, Bailey Hong Zhuang could not determine what kind of thoughts the master had. The only thing she can be certain of is that she and Di Bei Chun had more opportunities in the monument than other cultivators. Not only that, but the chances of the two of them getting the ultimate inheritance was also larger than other cultivators. And no matter what the final result was, at least they were now in a favorable condition. As for the final situation, they would only take it step by step. Just as Bailey Hong Zhuang was thinking about this, a clear and indifferent voice drifted to her ear. Miss Bailey, I don't know if you found a mechanism. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked away from the stone door, turning around and looked at Han Xiling. Her exquisite face had a light smile, saying, Miss Han could not find it. How could I have? Listening to Bailey Hong Zhuang's answer, Han Xiling's eyes changed a bit, but her face was still indifferent. That may not be the case. Miss Bailey is so intelligent and has extraordinary medical skills. It is normal to find things we can't find. Everyone saw that Han Xiling and Bailey Hong Zhuang were standing together, and their expressions became a bit strange. So far, this was the first time Han Xiling and Bailey Hong Zhuang had any exchange. Although they had not conversed before, and there had never been a conflict, everyone understood that among the people present, the most hateful relationship would be between these two women. It's just that neither of them were simple characters, and their stances were not clear. Bailey Hong Zhuang's red lips curved in a slight smile. Miss Han has praised me. When these words were said, Bailey Hong Zhuang did not intend to talk too much with Han Xiling. This kind of disguised, poisonous snake, she was too lazy to waste her time on. However, just as Bailey Hong Zhuang walked by Han Xiling's words drifted over into her ears. Do you really think Di aged like you? The scornful words revealed a bit of disdain, but Han Xiling's face still had a smile. It was just like the two people were saying hello to each other. Bailey Hong Zhuang's footsteps stopped, and her face was also clouded, but she spoke lightly. I don't know what more Miss Han has to see. Han Xiling wanted to test Bailey Hong Zhuang, and so she only warned her she wanted to keep the image she had in Di Dage's eyes. There was no need to disguise it in front of Bailey Hong Zhuang. However, Bailey Hong Zhuang's answer made her somewhat surprised. Such a light-hearted answer revealed confidence and determination. So far, she had rarely seen a woman who was so confident in front of her. Han Shiling's heart was full of turbulent thoughts, but not even a little of it was revealed on her face. With your position, you are not worthy of D-Dage. Han Shiling's dark eyes shone with a cold, warning light. She hoped that Bailey Hong Zhuang could break off their relationship on her own and make her have less trouble. Bailey Hong Zhuang's mouth pulled up in an enchanting arc, containing indescribable charm, and the exquisite face that could fell cities was full of infinite brilliance, making people feel amazed. Without a match, the final result can't be asserted by his Han. If you are so worthy, why is the person around D, Bei, Chen Naomi, and not you? Chapter 545 Confrontation between rivals. Bailey Hong Zhuang faintly looked at Han Shiling. Her phoenix eyes narrowed, and holding a smile, and her natural appearance was full of pride. Even if she had such a thing like a status, it was just an excuse. She was not at all lethal to her. 1. If Han Shiling thought that just this, too, would be able to deter her, then she really had been looking down her. She didn't want to tear Han Shiling's facade directly. But since Han Shiling had already taken the lead to provoke a fight, she would not swallow a bitter pill. 3. Bailey Hong Zhuang, had always liked to face her enemies head-on. Hearing the sarcasm in Bailey Hong Zhuang's words, Han Shiling's face had quietly stiffened. She had always been high above, such as the stars, and now someone dared to even mock her? Forcibly suppressing her anger, Han Shiling's eyes held a hint of more chill. D-Dage had just been down 5 these 3 years, so you took advantage of it, but this is definitely not the final result. Bailey Hong Zhuang glanced, seeing the unsettlement in Han Shiling's eyes. It seemed that in Han Shiling's heart, Bei Chen really occupied a very important position and weight. Otherwise, with Han Shiling's character, her mood change would not be so great. In that case, it is better to wait until that day comes. Then come back and talk to me. For now, though, this defeat is yours. Bailey Hong Zhuang had a proud and glamorous smile, and turning again, she walked in the direction where Bei Chen was. For more than a decade, Han Shiling had never won Bei Chen's heart, and now it was even more impossible, but Han Shiling did not see this. Perhaps Han Shiling had already understood this, but refused to admit it. Han Shiling looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang's back, and the hands under her sleeves gradually fisted, and the killing intent in her eyes was even thicker. Damn Bailey Hong Zhuang. Does she really think that she was a great person? With her capabilities, trying to kill Bailey Hong Zhuang was as simple as crushing an ant. Xiaoji Qin glanced coldly at Han Shiling. From the first moment she saw Han Shiling, she had no good impression of her. Now it seemed that this Han Shiling was really an annoying individual. Everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hong Zhuang, and Han Shiling looking at them. The outcome of the first round seemed to be that Bailey Hong Zhuang had won. Yanling Xian went to Han Shiling's side, and there was an expression of concern on his handsome face. Miss Han, are you okay? Han Shiling looked at Yanling Xian and asked, why wouldn't I feel good? Hearing this, an embarrassed expression appeared on Yanling Xian's face. Han Shiling's question made him wonder how to answer it. I just care about you. Thank you for your care, Yin Gongzi, but I am very good. Han Shiling's elegant face revealed a little alienation and indifference, and after faintly saying this sentence, she did not say more and went back to Tian Gangzong's team. Ji Yin'er and the others looked at Yanling Xian's appearance and couldn't help but smile. Yanling Xian, you should look at yourself a little less. 6. Han Shiling is a person with arrogance higher than the sky. Other than Di Gongzi, she will not put others in her eyes at all. Ji Yin'er smiled in ridicule. She also had a lot of contact with Han Shiling. This woman simply thought herself to be beyond others. 7. And other people would simply not be put in front of her eyes. Listening to Ji Yin'er's words, Yin Lingxian's face was a bit ugly, but he had to admit that there indeed was a big gap between him and Di Beichun. Chapter 546 Conflicts, Common Thoughts, Ji Yun'er. Even if I'm not as good, so what of it? There are many people who Han Xiling considers as sand in front of her eyes, but the person who lost in front of a general family's young miss is no one but you. The time Yin Lingxian had liked Han Xiling was not short, although he always knew that Han Xiling liked Di Beichun, but in his heart, he still dreamt of this goddess. Now Ji Yun'er said such things to him in front of everyone. He only felt that his dignity had been trampled on, so his words became more and more unkind. Ji Yun'er did not expect Yin Lingxian to say such things, and could not help but pause. Yin Lingxian, you are a bit too much. Ji Yun'er stood up and looked at Yin Lingxian with anger and sorrow. Her wounds from the previous encounter with Bailey Hongzhuang were still fresh. Now, with his unkind words, Yin Lingxian cut at her scars again. It was really an awful feeling. How am I too much? Yin Lingxian did not let go. He didn't even talk much to Ji Yun'er generally. Now, though, since Ji Yun'er was looking to trouble him, he would naturally not back down. For a while, Yin Lingxian showed his proud side. Neither Ji Yun'er or Yin Lingxian would yield, and just like this, a knot formed in between them. Bailey Hongzhuang sat down beside Di Beichun's side. At this moment, Di Beichun's eyes were closed, and he was resting for a few days. He looked relaxed at this moment. Han Xiling seemed to be throwing provocative looks at Bailey Hongzhuang. The men who pursued her, both in quality and quantity, far exceeded Bailey Hongzhuang. The smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's lips bloomed. This kind of thing may be a proud thing for other women, but for her, she had no feelings for this at all. I don't know what Han Xiling is so proud of. Doesn't our master also have a lot of people pursuing her? Xiao Hei's hands fisted, his face showing an indignant expression. Xiao Bai shook his head. Let her be arrogant. Di Beichun is already crazy for a master. Listening to Xiao Bai's words, Xiao Hei nodded. That is, I shouldn't be angry with such a thing. The cultivators were still looking at the stone door with great attention. Here should be the biggest treasure in the monument. If they gave up just like this, it was simply impossible to get it. Just by seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's harvest, they were already very jealous. Not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang's gains were only from the outer part of the monument, and the most important treasures had not yet appeared. This monument is too strange. There is no mechanism here at all. God knows what the master of this monument is thinking. There is no mechanism on the stone door. According to me, it is better for everyone to forcibly open the stone door. Some cultivators have been tempted to do this after searching the walls for a long time. Since they can't do it with skill, they could only use brute force. This idea may not be feasible. I tried it before. This stone door is indestructible. We can't break it with our strength. The faces of the people showed their frustration. They thought that they would have great luck in the monument, but they were now trapped outside a stone door. This kind of thing where the gold and silver treasures were right in front of them, but they couldn't reach it. It was really maddening. Teacher, if we don't open the stone door, we can't leave here. Xia Zhiqing asked. After so many days, she had no confidence in opening the stone door, but it was good as long as she could leave safely. Chapter 547 Wi-Fi is really smart. The moment Xia Zhiqing said these words, everyone's expressions changed a bit. They just thought about opening the stone door, but never thought about whether they could leave this monument without opening the stone door. After all, after they walked into the monument, the gates of the monument closed, and they could not go back. It seemed that it is very likely that they would not leave if they did not open the stone door. Liu Huaiyan's face also had a hesitant expression. This, I'm not sure. Xia Zhiqing's face was a bit ugly. Their life really wasn't in their own hands anymore as soon as they entered the monument. What do we do them? Xia Zhiqing's face was bitter. If they couldn't open the stone door, they would have to stay here. There must be a way to open this stone door. We will look for it patiently. Fu Hong Bo comforted, and there was no way they would give up after reaching till here. After Xia Zhiqing's reminder, the other cultivators worked harder to find the mechanism of the stone door. They wouldn't accept staying and dying here. Bailey Hong Zhuang lightly patted Xia Zhiqing's shoulder, indicating that Xia Zhiqing does not need to worry. Seeing this, Xia Zhiqing looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang strangely. Did this mean Bailey Hong Zhuang knew something? Hong Zhuang, not waiting for Xia Zhiqing to complete her sentence, Bailey Hong Zhuang took the lead and nodded. Don't worry for now. Let Di Bei Chun have a good rest. Xia Zhiqing looked at Di Bei Chun, then looked at her. Then she came to understand something. Hee. By June, you saw the whispering between Xia Zhiqing and Bailey Hong Zhuang. He had some doubts in his heart, but he never asked. When Di Bei Chun had rested enough, he opened his eyes and saw Bailey Hong Zhuang sitting beside him. A comforting smile spread across his handsome and unparalleled face. You didn't rest? Bailey Hong Zhuang shook her head. I was meditating for half a month before coming out. I don't have to rest. Yes, I found a mechanism of this stone door. Hearing this, there was a brightness in Di Bei Chen's eyes. Although he had always known that his wife was very smart, so many cultivators had studied this stone door for so many days and found nothing. But it only took a short time for Bailey Hong Zhuang to find it. How did you find it out? Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled mysteriously. If you go see it, you will find it. Oh, Di Bei Chen's eyebrows rose. Why is wifey so sure? You come with me now. When you see it, you will know. Bailey Hong Zhuang took the lead to get up, and with a smile looked at Di Bei Chen. Seeing that sunny smile, Di Bei Chen's eyes flashed with happiness, and he immediately stood up, and along with his wife, he went to the place where the stone door was. When everyone saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang had come again, they wouldn't help but feel a bit weird. After all, previously to Bailey Hong Zhuang had been there. In a short time, she came back. It was not until Di Bei Chun had rested that she came over. Was it that she had discovered something? Xia Zhiqing and the others looked at each other and immediately went towards the stone door, behind the beautiful couple. Bailey Hong Zhuang had already explained Xia Zhiqing of her discovery earlier, and Xia Zhiqing had also carefully informed the others so that they could take the opportunity to grab the first position. Everyone saw that Bailey Hong Zhuang and her group of people appeared together. Their hearts drummed a little. They didn't understand what they wanted to do, but they still let them go up. Chapter 548 really are a natural pair. These days, everyone had only been looking forward to someone successfully opening the stone door. Otherwise, they would be trapped forever in this monument. Therefore, since Bailey Hong Zhuang and the others were trying to open it, they had no reason to block them. Di Bei Chun, look here. Bailey Hong Zhuang pointed to a circular groove on the stone door. Di Bei Chen's gaze fell on the circular groove. Looking at it, a feeling of familiarity emerged in his heart, and he immediately understood the meaning behind Bailey Hong Zhuang's actions. Among all of them, only he and Bailey Hong Zhuang could understand the meaning of this groove. Others must have only thought it to be a decoration. In this way, the master of the monument had prearranged this. Di Bei Chen glanced meaningfully at Bailey Hong Zhuang. The meaning behind his gaze was quite apparent. Nyangzi, what do you think? Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved. The reason for her smile could no longer be understood by anyone except Di Bei Chun. Since you already know, there is no need to waste time. Not too far away, Han Xiling looked at the ambiguous actions between Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun, and the chill in her eyes gradually became sharper. Through the conversation between the two of them, she had been able to affirm that this Bailey Hong Zhuang was not an easy person to deal with. It was impossible to make her retreat with just a few words. During this time in the monument, she could only accept the existence of Bailey Hong Zhuang, and then make plans after leaving here. Next, in front of everyone's shocked and curious eyes, Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chun took out two swords. after she took out Lu Li out, but she also noticed that the sword in Di Bei Chen's hands was different from her own crystal sword. Lu Li was crystal clear, with a faint hint of a line of blood, and the sword in Di Bei Chen's hands was also crystal clear, but with a hint of golden light. At first glance, the two swords were very similar. When you looked closely, however, you would notice that the aura surrounding the two was different. Not only that, the sword in Di Bei Chen's hands was a little bigger than Lu Li. Di Bei Chen also noticed the difference between the two swords. It could be said that they were only slightly different with a lot of similarities with the same writing on them. Did that mean that this was a pair of swords? Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen looked at each other and had some thoughts in their minds. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked carefully at the sword in Di Bei Chen's hands and found that his sword was named Lu Guang. So it must be that their guess was correct. Why did Di Bei Chen suddenly take out these two swords? Yanling Xian looked puzzled at Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen's actions, but there was a bit more curiosity. I don't know, but it seems that these two swords are no ordinary goods, and their grade should be very high. Huang Fu Hui's eyes flashed with wisdom. He had always been interested in weapons, so he could roughly see the level of the two swords at a glance. The two swords look very similar. What is the relation between the two? Lin Yiro frowned. The two swords had a very uncanny resemblance. Listening to Lin Yiro's words, Huang Fu Hui slightly though for a moment, saying, "The two swords may be a pair. These are swords used between couples or husband and wives." With Huang Fu Hui saying those words, the emotion in the eyes of Lin Yiro and the others changed. This kind of thing could not be seen often on a normal day. These two people actually possessed it. It seems that Di Bei Chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang are really a natural pair. Lin Yiro shook her head and smiled. Lu Li, in case anyone forgot, that is the name of BHZ's sword. Lu Guang, literally precious stone light. Lu means precious stone, and Guang here can mean light, bright, ray, only, merely, or to use up. If I'm not wrong, BHZ's means glazed tile. Individually, the pinions mean precious stone and colored glaze/glass. So Lu Li is precious stone glass. If you look in a dictionary, the characters for Lu Li together mean glazed tile, while individually they have different meaning. I'm going with the individual meanings. Chapter 549, Opening the Stone Door. Han Shiling's eyes changed sharply, and she blinked coldly at Lin Yiro. What she had said was really unpleasant to hear to her. Lin Yiro was faintly smiling as if she never noticed Han Shiling's warning eyes, and directly turned her gaze. Just when everyone was trying to guess the origin of the swords in the hands of Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen, they both lifted the swords together and then fit the hilt into the groove. Gotcha! As soon as the hilt was inserted into the groove, a crisp sound came from the stone door. In the previously slightly noisy environment, after this sound came, everyone became quiet, and their eyes condensed in the groove. Boom! Read story at the original site. If this text is showing up, you are reading at a third website. This is piracy. In front of everyone's eyes, the stone door slowly opened. Next, when the people once again looked at the pair of swords in Di Bei Chen and Bailey Hong Zhuang's hands, their eyes had a fiery expression. Now, they did not require any guess to know the origin of these two swords. Obviously, these two swords were what they got in this monument. Everyone's heart became fiery. These two swords were actually the mechanism that opened the stone door. It had absolutely not been thought by them. Maybe there were still places where they needed to use these two swords to enter. Xia Jiqing and the others realized why Bailey Hong Zhuang had been so confident about being able to open the stone door. The stone door's mechanism turned out to be the groove that they had always mistaken to be a decoration. If it was not for the genius of Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen, they were afraid that they would not be able to find a way to open the stone door even if they lived in the monument. Read story at the original site. Just as Xia Jiqing and the others were thinking these, they suddenly found that the atmosphere around them had quietly changed. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Qin drew up their swords first, and the expression in the eyes of the two had become completely different. As long as anyone could get the two swords, their chances of inheriting the heritage of the monument would be greatly improved. After they saw this scene, Yinling Xian and the others had no idea what to think of Bailey Hong Zhuang, and their thoughts were constantly changing. The inheritance of a master, it was a rare treasure. Once they acquired it, their status in the family could be greatly improved in the future. It won't be the same as in the past. For the time, no one could remain calm in the face of such temptation. Dibei Chun, Hong Zhuang, you go in first. Read story at the original site. Dong Fong Yu quickly noticed the thoughts of the people behind them. If they didn't leave soon, he was afraid that they would have to endure the attack of everyone. Listening to Dong Fong Yu's words, Dibei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at each other. Under such circumstances, they indeed had to advance first. Xia Qing and the others extremely tacitly guarded the backs of Dibei Chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang. They could at least stop everyone for a while. Catch them. Don't let them run. Read story at the original site. Yinling Xian thought again, and finally made his decision. He must not give up such a golden opportunity. Read story at the original site. Huang Fu Wei also quietly gave his own orders. This was related to their future. He can't give up just because of Dibei Chen's identity. The cultivators of Tiangang Zone, together with Xia Qing and the others, blocked these people. Dibei Chen was their young lord. In any case, they also had the duty to protect and guard Dibei Chen. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Dibei Chen rushed through the stone door first. After seeing the situation inside, however, the two stayed in the same place. Chapter 550 Sculpture, The Two Masters. Beyond the stone door, a huge main hall as presented before the gazes of the two. The scope of the main hall was completely beyond the imagination of Bailey Hong Zhuang. This main hall was comparable to the combat experience field in the Songlan College, and its scope was huge and shocking. However, the first thing Bailey Hong Zhuang was attracted to was the two huge, white jade sculptures in the main hall. The sculptures were carved into two figures, a man and a woman. The man was extremely handsome. His body was tall as bamboo, his posture straight and lean, and his eyes as sharp as an eagle. Just looking at him gave a feeling of shock. The woman was genteel and feminine, with a faint smile on her lips, gentle and charming. Her countenance was like untouched snow, her beauty soft and cordial. Read at original site. The only thing that was the same was that they exuded a powerful and noble aura. These sculptures were carved to the best, lifelike personification. If not for the lifelessness of the material, there seemed to be almost no difference between a sculpture and a real person. Read at original site. Don't support aggregate sites. This was the first time Bailey Hong Zhuang had seen such perfect sculptures. This kind of carving seemed to be a work of magic. If it was not seen by her own eyes, it would be hard to believe. It seems that these two are the masters of this monument. The low-pitched voice beside her revealed determination and confidence, and Dibei Chen looked forward at the two sculptures in admiration and respect. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly. After seeing these two sculptures, she was sure that Lu Li and Lu Guang, these two swords she and Dibei Chen had obtained, must have been owned by these two masters. Thinking of this, Bailey Hong Zhuang deeply bowed to the two masters. In any case, her strength could be improved because of the gifts of these two masters, and Lu Li had now become her weapon. At the same time, Dibei Chen also did the same thing as Bailey Hong Zhuang. They had rushed into this monument, which had undoubtedly disturbed the two predecessors. Although they couldn't do anything for the two masters, they should at least express their respect and gratitude. Read at original site. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips had a faint smile. For a long time, most of the relics she had known were built by one person. It was rare to hear that there were couples who built monuments together. If she had to say, these two people should have a very good relationship. Even to the end of their lives, they had been together. After her move of gratitude, Bailey Hong Zhuang looked at the situation in the main hall and turned to look at Di Bei-chun, saying, "Let's go out." Since they had already entered and seen the situation, there was no reason for them to block others. Di Bei-chun nodded, and his eyes were like bright stars on his handsome face. Yes. Read at original site. Next, Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang acted at the same time and opened the stone door that was closed. They had always faced their enemies head-on, and they did not want to invite more trouble than they should. Read at original site. It was just that things had happened too suddenly, but after all, they must make sure to get the best. The cultivators of Songlan College and Tiangangzong were blocking the other cultivators from entering. Suddenly, the stone door behind them was opened. Xia Zhiqing and the others couldn't help but look back at the two people behind them. Why are you opening the stone door? Read at original site. Didn't they know that once they come out, they would become the target of public jealousy? Read at original site. However, Di Bei-chun and Bailey Hong Zhuang looked calm. Even if the strength of the four families was not simple, the real situation was not as bad as they think. But Chapter 551 Lin E. Ro's decision. Is everyone present sure they want to be my enemy? The low and dull voice revealed boundless power, the tone domineering. Di Bei-chun's face was indifferent and ruthless. His gaze slowly swept over Yin Ling Xian and the others. Just a simple sentence, and the originally bristling atmosphere seemed to become heavy. Everyone was shocked at seeing Di Bei-chun. There were so many people here, but just a look and action could make people scared from the bottom of their hearts. Yin Ling Xian and the others couldn't help but hold back. The reason they even had scruples before was Di Bei-chun. With Di Bei-chun's strength and decisiveness, once Di Bei-chun returned, he would definitely settle this account with them. They were not weak in their families, but they were only one of the many competitors for the family head's position. Their position wasn't set in stone. If Di Bei-chun was determined to deal with them, their situation would become somewhat difficult. These thoughts were brought up again with Di Bei-chun's words. Yin Ling Xian and Huang Fu, Hui looked at Lin Yi-ro and Ji Yuner, trying to ascertain their stance. Bailey Hong Zhuang's eyes also fell onto the Ji Yuner and Lin Yi-ro. The cultivators from the Tiangang zone were naturally on their side, except it seemed that the strength of their younger generation was stronger than that of the two teachers who weren't too bad themselves. Naturally, the strength of the cultivators of Tiangang zone could not be doubted, but they were still dwarfed by the joint efforts of the four families to deal with them. The biggest question was whether the teams of the four families would join hands. Yin Ling Xian and Huang Fu Hui had apparently formed an alliance for the moment, and Ji Yuner's situation was rather embarrassing. Ji Yuner must have wanted to kill her quickly, but because she had just saved her life, she would seem too ungrateful if she were to directly confront her. If she did not, then inside she would still be unwilling. As for Lin Yi-ro, her attitude was not clear enough. Previously, Lin Yi-ro was undoubtedly trying to establish a good relationship with her. If she were to draw her sword against her now, then everything before was equivalent to nothing. After thinking about it for a while, she still felt that Lin Yi-ro would stand in a united front with Yin Ling Xian. However, when Bailey Hong Zhuang had just thought this, Lin Yi-ro spoke up. Di Gongzi, Bailey Gunyang, I have no plans to be enemies with you two. In this battle, my Lin family will not participate. Li Yi-ro's face had a faint smile, but her words were clear. At the same time, Lin family's cultivators took a few steps back after hearing Lin Yi-ro's decision and showed their attitudes with their actions. It could be seen that Lin Yi-ro had the absolute right to speak in this team. Lin Yi-ro's uncharacteristic attitude made everyone pause. Yin Ling Xian was even more puzzled. Ji Yuner's situation was tricky, but Lin Yi-ro simply had no reason to do this. Bailey Hong Zhuang gazed deeply at Lin Yi-ro. It seemed that Lin Yi-ro's hatred for Han Shi-ling ran deeper than she imagined. With Lin Yi-ro's statement, the atmosphere in the room changed again. Once the Lin family stepped back from the battle, the power of Yin Ling Xian and others was reduced. Ji Yun'er, what have you decided? Yin Lingxian asked in a deep voice. This was now a very crucial point. Chapter 552 Han, Shi Ling. Everyone's eyes fell onto the cultivators of the Ji family. The decision of the Ji family would determine the situation at hand. If the Ji family agreed, then the three families would join hands and would have a chance at dealing with the cultivators of Songlan College and Tiangang Zone. If Ji family did not agree, then there would only be Yin family and Huang Fu family, and the probability of winning was only half. What's more, although Lin Rose said that she would not become enemies with Di Bei Chun, but if they and Di Bei Chun and the other people were to fight, both sides would suffer damage. Then the Lin family would be fishing treasures. For a time, all the cultivators present were in a dilemma. Ji Yun'er was hesitant. She had always quite admired Di Bei Chun, but after the previous incident, she felt that Di Bei Chun was too indifferent to her, and Bailey Hong Zhuang had even saved her. Bailey Hong Zhuang. This person seemed to be just a vase, but she still didn't know her true capabilities. Even if she made up her mind to attack, she still had no control over the decision of the Ji family's cultivators. Once Ji Yun'er decided to attack, she was not sure everyone would follow her orders. Outside, she was the young miss of Ji family, but inside things were complicated. While Ji Yun'er was hesitating, Ji family's head cultivator had already taken the lead. Bailey Gunyang has been kind to our family. We will not participate in this. Ji Yun'er was slightly stunned. Just turning around, she wanted to ask how her own family's cultivator could directly make this decision, but SHE saw the cultivators looking at her deeply. At a glance, she could see the hint of warning in his eyes. Upon seeing this, Ji Yun'er also fell silent. She also knew that the other person's warning had some meaning. After the Ji family made their stance clear, Xia Zhiqing and the others couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed that a crisis had been averted. Compared to the situation that seemed a lost cause before, at least now, they had the possibility of fighting neck to neck. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Bei Chen's eyes immediately fell onto Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui. The situation now depended upon those two. They believed that even if they really felt like attacking, they would consider it more. Though they had to say Lin Yirou's direct withdrawal was beyond their expectations. So now the situation had completely reversed. Yin Lingxian and Huang Fu Hui were somewhat embarrassed. They thought of the situation before. They had never expected it to become like this. Di Bei Chun looked coldly at Yin Lingxian and did not speak. His momentum diffused into the atmosphere openly, and the shock and oppression exuded a sense of suffocation. Yin Lingxian, do you really want to be enemies with my Tiangang Zone? Just when the atmosphere was turning rigid, Han Shi Ling, who had been silent, suddenly stood up and spoke and pointed out the problem to Yin Lingxian. Bailey Hong Zhuang's lips curved up with a hint of lightness. This Han Shi Ling was really interesting. Yin Lingxian had been reduced to a chess piece for her to use, the poor guy. It seemed that Han Shi Ling's means were to use other men. Sure enough, after Han Shi Ling said this, Yin Lingxian's face became stiff. There have always been many conflicts in order to compete for treasures. Even if there was a contradiction between the two, it would never involve the head of the family. Han Shi Ling had just escalated the problem to the level of the entire Tiangang Zone. Coupled with his intentions towards Han Shi Ling, he really had no way to answer this sentence. This was the first time Han Shi Ling had looked at Yin Lingxian so seriously, and Yin Lingxian looked at the dreamy face, and his entire person became amazed. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.